everyone. Welcome to beautiful southern Italy and the third stop of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series in Polignano, Mare, where the houses literally rise from the rocks in the deep blue Adriatic Sea. What a beautiful sight. I'm Trace Worthington alongside Red Bull cliff diving expert Joey Zuber. Thank you for hanging with us. YouTube Live, this is going to be so much fun. We have the women and the men's competition. 2 rounds already went down off of the balcony. We're going to check out highlights of that, Joey, but it is 4 rounds of diving here at the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. We're going right up to the platform shortly with the women, followed by the men. We're going to check out rounds 2 and 3 live. It's going to be a lot of fun. What do you expect here? It's one of the most epic locations that we love, and of course the divers love it too.
It is a beautiful spot. It's a great place for the spectators to watch as well. So you've got those nice cliff faces directly in front of the platform, people looking from the top of the balconies.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the all-time classics in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Italy definitely has been a bit of a mecca for cliff diving.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a history of decades of cliff diving here. Definitely one of the favorites for the athletes. Like
I mean, look at this. It's so difficult for the athletes just to get to the platform.
Yeah.
Look at their walk to the platform shortly, but look at that spectacular view. And again, one of the most favorite venues on the stop. And we visited Polignano Mare 11 different times. We've had 12 competitions. Yeah, right off the rooftop. We've stayed right there before. But yeah, it's been so much fun here, and for this beautiful town to host the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series for 12 different competitions in 11 years, the most of any other location that the divers and we have visited over the years. But those new to cliff diving, here's how it all works with the format. Check it out.
Each Red Bull cliff diving event features 8 permanent and 4 wildcard divers per gender. There are 4 rounds of diving with varying levels of difficulty. The panel of 5 judges has less than 3 seconds to evaluate the parts of each dive. The judges then award scores from 0 to 10. The highest and lowest scores are eliminated, and the remaining 3 added together. This total, multiplied by the degree of difficulty, gives the dive score. And all 4 dives are added together for the event score. Finally, series points are awarded at every event, with a bonus point for the best dive of the competition. At the end of the series, the divers with the highest series points are awarded the King Kahikili Trophy.
The King Kahikili Trophy. Rhiannon Iflin has won that prestigious trophy, what, 7 times now?
Yep.
Yeah, 7
You're
times
always
now.
losing count.
I know. And Konstantin Popovic, the Romanian shark, he is back from injury. He is the winner last year, of course, after Gary Hunt, the legendary Frenchman, won it 10 years in a row. But we have Michael Frosty Snow with us today. Frosty, what's going on, buddy?
Hey guys, it is beautiful out here. I'm just stepping out of the house where the divers actually travel through to get to the platform. It is pumping out here. Very warm today. And I am just so excited to see what the divers have going on today. Now, it is going to be the second round of diving, and I am telling you from what we saw yesterday, it is going to be absolute madness. Now, it's just a little bit hotter today than yesterday, and I think everybody is feeling the heat a little bit. The sun is beating down on these rooftops, but it's a little bit less windy, so I know the divers are excited about that. And I am just checking. Now, the last warm-up dives just finished up, and they are getting ready to go. We got the women set up here on the 21-meter platform. Way up there is the 27-meter platform. You can see the crowds are already pulling out here. It is getting very nuts. It's genuinely a big party, and everyone is excited to be here in Polignano Mare, just like I am. I mean, look at these views. Could you ask for anything more?
No, we're stuck in the booth. We should be out there with you, buddy.
No, we should be out there with you. But I love how the people mine the rocks. And he's talking about
Red Bull cliff diving.
Yeah, exactly. Living the Red Bull cliff diving dream as we look at Konstantin Popovic making his way up along with Xanthia Panizzi. It's a long walk up to those platforms, and as Frosty mentioned, Joey, the women's platform is 21.6 meters, so that is 71 feet off of the Adriatic Sea. The men's platform, 27.6, 91 feet off the water, and then the water 23 degrees Celsius, 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and a beautiful shot of what Frosty was just talking about with those platforms. But right around the corner, so right around the right-hand side of these platforms, is a private residence balcony. Well, these are off a private residence as well, Joey, but a private residence balcony. And here's what went down in round one, started with the men. Break it down.
You gotta love these rounds, don't you? You know, pushing your way or walking your way through someone's private house, grab a cup of coffee and fly your way off the balcony. That's the flying front by Nikita Fedotov. So cool. This is a graceful round, right? The nice, simple, graceful maneuvers. I love these dives.
Carlos.
Incidentally, Carlos Jimeno and finding form with his nice little triple half there. Beautiful shot as the sun sets over the Adriatic Sea in Polignano, Mare, the southern part of Italy. And a very dynamic diver. We'll see some impressive dives when we get into the optional dive rounds, where they increase the degree of difficulty.
How about Johnny?
About the style master, eh?
How about Johnny? I mean, he coming back in Boston, he wasn't feeling it mentally in Boston, and he actually bailed out of the competition. He flew home, he relaxed and came back, and what a nice little comeback for Johnny, coming to leading after the first round.
Great little cup of confidence diving from the balcony, and a beautiful entry. But as you were talking about, the sport of cliff diving, mentally challenging. It's not easy. I mean, they're diving 27.6 meters off a balcony, off a platform.
Yeah.
You know, that's the equivalent of a 9th-story high-rise.
Yeah.
And so we've got the Olympics coming up, right? So that's 10 meters.
Yeah.
Almost 3 times the height.
And when you're not feeling it, bail. We have the judges right here. The judges, they do such a great job. So hopefully they won't get seasick out there in the boat, folks. But we have 5 judges. You know, they have their work cut out for them. They have a score between 1 and 10 each. The high and the low will be tossed out as we explained in the explanation earlier. But the judges have it pretty difficult right there. We have Anka Piper and Sam Dorman, the Olympic silver medalists. Simone Latimer, Igil Omasen, and then Julian Linus. I always say his name right. Julian Linus. And then we checked out the men earlier on the first round, Joey, but let's check out the women and how that all went down. A 3-way tie for the top right now on the women's side off of that balcony round. Pretty intense between Rhiannon Iffel and Molly Carlson and the rookie Kaylee Arnett. We'll start with her.
And Kaylee proving she is no fluke.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, all 3 women, Kaylee Arnett, Molly Carlson, and Rhiannon Iffel, tied after round 1. So I believe they all got 63.30, but beautiful dive off the balcony. Molly Carlson looking super focused. Once again, this is about style and execution. The judges are not looking at the degree of difficulty. So everyone has a fixed degree of difficulty in this round. The next round to come will have an intermediate round and then the difficult dives, where they're really starting to push the boundaries. Rhiannon Iffel switching things up, and she would normally do a different dive for her first round, but choosing to do the triple half. But on average, I mean, Rhiannon Iffel is scoring 9s on this dive. I mean, everything from start to finish, absolutely exquisite, and a beautiful shot of Polignano. One of the coolest Italian cities or towns
located. No doubt about it, Joey. Located in the Puglia region along the beautiful Adriatic Sea. We'll get to that more, but here's the start list for women's round 2 of 4. Ellie Smart needs to crawl her way back up that leaderboard. You see Simone Leathead, the strong Canadian diver who podiumed at the very first stop of the season. She will dive number 6. We have Maley Carpenter, the American, in the mix. And then here are the top after the first round. Panizzi making her way back, kind of had some issues also after Boston. Cassetti, the local Italian, and then Quintero doing a nice job this year, staying consistent, Joey. And then a tie for the top 3 between Rhiannon Iffel, Molly Carlson, and then Kaylee Arnett. in her second Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series of her life, will be in that targeted position running last, which means she will be the top diver or top seed in the women's second round.
Yeah, and don't forget, things will start to shake up a little bit in this intermediate round, and particularly after round 3, you'll start to see the leaderboard change up quite a lot when they're doing those difficult dives. And we hope the wind doesn't pick up too much. There's a little bit of swell in the ocean at the moment, and historically speaking in Polignano Mare, it can be absolutely dead calm, like a mirror, flat.
Yeah.
Or it can be disastrously wavy. We've seen some incredibly rough conditions, and it can change quite quickly. And as you were mentioning, the judges look like they're on the verge of being a little seasick, I must admit. I would have put them on land personally, but anyway.
And I love that, Polignano Mare, there's every single balcony and every single rock is just filled with spectators. We'll be back also live tomorrow with our 4th and final round. But we are, Trace, Joey, YouTube Live this morning for round 2 and 3. So we'll start with the women, go into the men, back to the women's third round, back to the men's third round before we wrap up the day, and then we'll move on to tomorrow. Any questions you might have? Joey has his computer machine up. I have mine right in front of me right here. The old laptop. The computer machine.
Are you showing your age there, little Tracy?
We can see you. Or we can see your comments, sorry. But you can see the comments, you guys that come in. We'll do our best to answer any questions you might have. So Joey and I are pretty good about, during the commentary, kind of answering the nerdy questions of like how deep the water is, 6 meters, 20 feet,
but literally,
the temperature,
literally anything you're wondering.
Yeah. Throw it out.
Fire away, put the questions, and we'll do our best to answer you.
Throw it out. Oh man, I missed the pizza there. Just be out there having a little pizza on that.
A little spaghetti vongole, spaghetti with clams. I like it.
On the other side of that bridge. And of course, all the boats, the big yachts, and all the cool things, anything buoyant, floatable, rolling in to watch the world's best. You are watching the third stop of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series from Polignano Mare, Italy. Now, a location check, Puglia region, right on the Achilles heel of the Italian boot right there,
exactly,
the boot.
Exactly. Yeah. Trace, I was just thinking, like, why don't we commentate from one of the boats? Where's the invite? I mean, technically, it can't be all that hard, right?
No.
Actually, I might regret that, by the end of the day, we're rocking and rolling.
All right, speaking of rocking and rolling, we are ready and rocking and rolling for the first woman in round number 2. Now, all 4 rounds count. So Ellie Smart of the United States will kick things off. That means she had the lowest score, the poorest score after the first round of diving. So now she has to put something special together, Joey Zuber. But what an amazing athlete, the 28-year-old American Red Bull athlete. Does a lot of different stunts, all kinds of great things in social media. But now it's time for Ellie Smart of the USA to kick into gear.
So Ellie forward 2 somersaults, 2.5 twists. Some catching up to do, like Trace mentioned.
Going quick, so Ellie Smart means business now. Not a bad entry, Joey. We have a lot of people in the water. If you can just break that down for us, that'd be great.
Max, the waterman.
Who are all those people? Who are all those people?
Max. But the safety divers, they are, of course, there for the safety of the athletes. And quite often you'll see the athletes putting a hand signal or making a hand signal on the end of the platform. That's usually to tell the safety divers to splash. And particularly in a location like this, I've dove here before in the past.
Yeah.
It can be kind of daunting. It looks really high. When it's transparent water, sometimes you can't quite tell the difference between the bottom and the surface of the water. It's a little bit more choppy and wavy. There's a bit of sun glare there as well. But if it's really flat and calm, you really need a splash in order to help you see the surface.
Yeah, of course.
It won't make it any softer, but that is an essential part of it. And of course, there to retrieve the athletes in case of an injury.
There's the taxi ride back to the local beach. La Mamanakile Beach is where the hot spot is. Just so you see now that big walkway. And then the ski-doo will drop off, the jet ski will drop out belly. She'll take that kind of wobbly walk back to the beach. No fun on a windy day, by the way.
We've seen some serious wobbliness in the past.
Yeah.
The snake, the worm.
So the judges will weigh in on this, folks. 5 judges. Again, score between 1 and 10. The high and low scores are tossed out. The remaining 3, which you see highlighted in white, 6.5 she'll keep. So that score, 66.30, added together with her first dive, 106.60. So we'll see if that can help Smart in the rankings and get up there before round 3 and 4. It's never over until the end of round 4, Joey.
No, it's not. I'm just looking at the chat group here. Just a little bit of a shout out to Catlin Preda. Happy birthday. So he's just missing this competition due to injury, but I'm sure he'll come back fighting fit. So big shout out to Catlin Preda. Happy birthday.
It's his birthday.
Yeah.
How old's Preda now? He's like...
Good question.
Oh, we'll look it up.
Yeah, we've got to get our little stats up.
Okay, next up now. This is... Well, Madeleine Bayonne. Yana Natsiraba was supposed to dive, but she is a scratch, a little neck injury. So we'll move on to the French woman, Madeleine Bayonne, 28-year-old. So Bayonne, the retired gymnast in her 4th ever World Series appearance, drops in.
And this is the interesting part, as you said, a retired gymnast. Sometimes the athletes will be transferring from other disciplines. They may come from trampolining, acrobatic disciplines like sports acro, which is a discipline you might see in the Olympics as well.
Yep.
And many of them come from that performance background as well. Cirque du Soleil, shows like the House of Dancing Water in Macau and China as well. And I do think that performance aspect, performing in those shows, does help them rise to the occasion here in the cliff diving scene. You know, diving in front of them, there's a lot of spectators. Wait till tomorrow. I mean, this will be absolutely packed to the rafters, all over the rocks,
Thousands.
all over the rooftops.
Thousands. Somebody asked in the chat room, Joey, on YouTube. Once again, YouTube Live, you guys weigh in on your comments. Both Joey and I are checking them out along with our crew behind the scenes. So if you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer. And one of them is, do they build the platform? The answer is yes. They build that platform on top of that precipice right there off the Labate family balcony.
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't stay there year round, but it's just that add-on to get over the water so the divers can get to the point where they can reach that 6, well, so they don't hit the rocks, basically. Let's just be honest here.
Let's call it an overhang.
Let's just be honest.
We don't want any rock clipping on the way down. Thank you very much.
Let's just be honest here on that. So, again, Yana Natsiraba, she is a scratch. So we go on to Bayonne with her score of 96.95. So that'll move into 2nd place behind Smart. All right, so now we move on to Mele Carpenter, a very strong diver from the United States, 36 years old. Just missed the podium at the last stop in Boston, Joey. 4th place, where she's podiumed before. In fact, the first event she ever dove in this World Series, she podiumed there in Boston. See what she can pull together here in Italy.
Very capable athlete, mentally strong.
Oh, there we go. So Mele Carpenter in her 2nd round, just to bring you back up to speed if you just joined us. This is round number 2 of 4. Round 1 took place yesterday. So we'll check out round 2 and 3 live here on YouTube. The women now are going. Mele Carpenter is 4 to go of 11 women. Then we'll go on to the men's round 2, then women's round 3, men's round 3.
And speaking of different disciplines, so Mele Carpenter is quite an all-round athlete. Aerial acrobatics, tumbling, trampoline wall, Russian swing, Chinese pole, sword fighting, rock climbing, gymnastics, diving, and cliff diving, just to name a few. What an impressive all-round athlete Mele Carpenter is. But let's keep an eye out for her. She can be dangerous. She's got big degree of difficulty, and she can shake things up in this competition as well.
No, she can. Super consistent. Kind of rarely out of that top 7, top 6 even. So Mele Carpenter comes in. You see again the scores. Highlighted are the ones she'll keep, all 7s. They multiply that by that 3.1 degree of difficulty. So she moves into the lead over fellow American Ellie Smart. So now Carpenter with a 118.40 sets the pace in round number 2. Again, a spectacular, beautiful shot. of Polignano a Mare, Italy. That historic bridge that we just passed, sort of that narrow, massive arches. Beautiful, beautiful shot. As we look at the platforms, the men will go shortly. 27.6 meters, 91 feet above the water. The women, 21.6, 71 feet above the water. As we get ready now for Jeannie von Katwijk.
We've got a great question from the athletes. Oh, sorry, from the chat group here as well. So I'll get into that after the dive.
Van Katwijk of the Netherlands. Wow, not a splash in sight. Very solid dive by Jeannie.
A drop of water left behind in the Adriatic Sea. That was impressive.
That was impressive. Not easy to do when you're coming in feet first to not have some type of splash, because usually when you don't see a splash, Joey, it's because they're diving head first. So now break that up for us, as the viewers always want to know, why feet first versus head first?
Okay, one simple answer is that incredible speed up to 71 kilometers per hour, a little over 50 miles per hour by the time you hit the water. You could do it as a one-off for a stunt or a particular movie scene,
sure,
but to do that repetitiously, there's no way the body can handle that.
So Van Katwijk, you see that 68 on that second round dive, 122.60. So she will move into the lead. Now she's married to fellow diver Matt Cooper, who we've seen at the first stop of the season, right? So Matt does a great job also diving. They've been cruise ships and all that stuff, but let's send it over to Frosty, who's upside down. Let's spin him upright and see what's going on.
Switch it up, Frosty.
Hey,
do a handstand.
I like to flip around. I'm good upside down. It's not a big deal for us, and obviously not a big deal for you. You're also an incredible diver yourself. But here, you're in support of your wife, your coach, husband, cheerleader. So you may be a bit biased, but how did you feel about that dive?
That was great. She did exactly what we talked about. Her cues on the takeoff to really jump up and be patient. And she did that perfectly. Might have come out a little bit early, but put a nice clean entry, just a tad short, but you got to be happy with that.
Awesome. I mean, it looked great to me, but of course, you're a professional. What should we be looking out for in the next round?
Jeannie will be doing her arm stand with 1.5 twists. She's the only girl in the world to be doing this dive, and she needs a little bit of redemption from Boston, where she balked on her handstand. So I think we're going to see a good one today.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see it. Back to you guys.
Let's go, Slug.
All right, thanks, Frosty. Tell Matt hello from us, from Joey and Trace, as we go to the top now of the women's platform for Simone Leathead. A lot of great questions coming in. We'll get around to it. Somebody asked about David Coulter. He's not injured. He's a wild card diver this year, so this is one of the stops he won't be at. And Simone Leathead, the strong diver of Canada, with a little bit of a heavy landing on that, is what I like to quote you on, Joey, what the heavy landing is.
Well, obviously there was quite a bit of splash kicking up, but actually I thought the dive was pretty good. It was like looking in good shape to have a really good entry. I thought it was a great strong takeoff, beautiful pike position in the air. But if you can just be, or if you are just ever so slightly off angle, by the smallest degree, can kick up some splash. Also, you can get a bit unlucky with the waves. Had a great question in the chat group as well. Some people are saying, when they land in the water, is it with flat feet or pointed toes? Now, the answer is it's to actually have your feet slightly flat. So you want to have your heels up a little bit, but you want to create some kind of surface area to create a hole for the body to pass through. If your toes are pointed, you can actually risk, in my opinion, pulling your legs apart.
Yeah,
right? You can kind of slip through the water too much, but flattening the feet will help that rip entry. You kind of get that nice tearing sound as you hit through the water. And actually, that's the same thing that you'll see in the Olympics in France, this year, you'll actually see them going headfirst. But if you look at them closely, their hands or fingertips aren't pointed. They actually grab their hands, almost like you're shaking your own hand, and pulling them flat to create that flat surface area for the body to pass through.
Good stuff,
That's
Joey.
the answer.
No, that's great. Somebody asked about Ireland. Yes, we are going to Ireland. That is the next stop, folks. The Causeway Coast of Ireland. That'll be July 20th. We'll start the coverage on TikTok Live on the 18th. So to get that one out of the way, is look at a beautiful shot of Polignano a Mare, Italy. Second round of the women before we get into the men. People ask about Gary Hunt. Of course. Why wouldn't you ask about Gary Hunt?
Yeah.
Why isn't he here? Well, he's training for the games. He's competing in the men's 10-meter synchro platform.
Pretty important
So,
thing,
yeah,
you know. He's
pretty
got
important
to
thing.
get ready for that,
Got
right?
to get ready for that. But we're going to see him back on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series at some point soon. All right. Next up, Xanthia Panizzi. She'll take her time, and maybe she change that. Now she's not, Joey. Little strategy change here for her.
Oh.
Loving it right there. So the reason I'm saying that is because Xanthia Panizzi, who, like Jonathan Paredes, pulled out of Boston because they just weren't feeling well mentally, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't feeling well with her dives. But she takes a lot of time typically on the top of that platform, like over a minute. And that time she just went.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a dive that she feels more comfortable with, but as you start to step up the degree in difficulty, then there's a lot more of a challenge mentally, right? So there's more at stake. It is a risky sport. Things can go wrong. Occasionally, athletes do lose their way in the air, and that's the big fear of a lot of athletes, and she was quite open about it in her social media platforms as well. But all of the divers feel the nerves, they feel the fear of the platform. So if you're ever wondering if they have no fear or they must have no fear, that is not true. Every single time you get on that platform, it gets nerve-wracking. And for me, I found it really hard even eating my breakfast. When you wake up in the morning, you think about your dives, you're playing it over in your head, and of course you have some self-doubt, but you've got to push through that and actually believe in yourself and believe in your training. So a bit of self-talk is very important as well, and to manifest those positive thoughts.
Panizzi pulls into the lead with that 133.30. So that's the score she has after 2 rounds of diving. And once again, you can watch this tomorrow again as we look at round 2 and 3 live here on YouTube. And you'll hear the crowd go nuts for Alyssa Cassetti. But Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series Finals tomorrow here at 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST live on Red Bull TV. All right, so here we go, Joey, with the local. Alyssa Cassetti, only 21 years old, the wild card diver, the second youngest female in the women's field, besides lead head. You heard the crowd go nuts for her. That must be nerve-wracking.
You
know what I mean?
Especially for the home crowd.
Home crowd.
The first Italian woman to be competing in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. I mean, look at that shot. 21.6 meters high. That's a smidge over 71 feet. Okay, so that's more than double the height of the Olympic 10-meter platform, which you'll see in France Olympics coming up.
Wow, beautiful dive. Nice job by the 21-year-old Cassetti, who, by the way, placed 4th at the first stop in Greece.
Yeah, best performance, best results ever.
Putting pressure on the big names. You're 21 years old. You've only had a few World Series starts. Next thing you know, you're like, wow, I'm standing here waiting for, just diving right before Molly Carlson and diving before Rhiannon Iflin and the biggest names in cliff diving.
And I think she's been so smart about the way that she's progressed in the sport of cliff diving. She came into the scene not trying to do the most difficult dive. She said, no, I'm just going to take my time, do the basic things right, get the simple dives dialed in, work on my entries. And that's also testament to her coaching team as well, making sure that you pace yourself, you do the right things in the right sequence.
So Cassetti moves into the lead with a 1:43.10. That will set the tone for her, nicely moving into round 3. Now, just to get you up to speed, because watching people's comments on our YouTube page, thanks for weighing in, folks, by the way. So Cassetti is 8 to go of 11, okay, on the women's side, or 7 to go of 11 in this case. Yana Netsirava is a scratch. A lot of Molly Carlson fans, of course, as we know, Joey. Yes, she's coming up shortly. So Cassetti just dove we'll look at Maria Polignano, followed by the great Rhiannon Ifland, Molly Carlson to follow, and then Kaylee Arnett, the wild card diver in the United States, will dive last. And that was a three-way tie at the top after round one on the women's side. So that is going to be pretty special to watch that go down. Maria Polignano, Colombia. Maria Polignano, right there. She is 8 to go of 11 in the women's field. A bit of a splash on that, Joey. We always talk about it, and the viewers always ask about it. How much of an impact does that make when there's a bigger splash than not? It's just like just like diving. You're going to see, when we get around to the games coming up in August in less than a month, and it's the same thing. Yes, you get docked for it. Simple as that.
I mean, it's one way to impress the judges, getting that nice rip entry, disappearing. You always hear the other athletes go, whoa, yes, great dive. Actually, technically, the rules, you should be looking at the vertical line. That is the more important thing.
Yeah.
So you need to be looking at, or the judges are looking at, the takeoff, the flight, and the entry. Takeoff should be nice and powerful, nice and high, not too far away from the platform, not too close to the platform for obvious reasons. Good form in the air, and vertical as possible. That's what all the athletes are trying to achieve.
A couple people asking about no instant replays on the dives. We're keeping her loose here in round number 2 on our YouTube live show, you guys. In the next round, we'll have a little bit more replays. We're going to test a few things out, so hang tight with us. And tomorrow, I mean, the big show, it's all tight and buttoned up there for Red Bull TV.
Replays, Max is in there.
Everything you got.
Doing his thing. Yep.
So tomorrow at 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST. Check that out on Red Bull TV. So kind of changing things up, having some fun here on the YouTube live show. Trace Worthington alongside Joey Zuber. You have Michael Frosty Snow on site for us, cruising around. We'll catch up with him momentarily. Some people asking Joey how many stops this season. The answer is 8.
That's a lot. That's a big season.
8 stops. Yeah. Ending in Sydney, Australia.
Hey.
The old fellow Aussie next to me.
We don't mind a bit of that. Right in front of the Opera House as well. The scenery will be spectacular, but it is very beautiful location for athletes to dive.
Who's this?
I don't know. I heard she's good.
Rhiannon Ifland, the best ever, the GOAT of women's cliff diving, right here. The 32-year-old, 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion on her second round dive.
And mixing things up, so the inward triple half tuck, she would normally do this in her optional dive rounds, her most difficult rounds, but now she's pushing that into the intermediate round, and then she'll also test out a new diver front triple with 1.5 twist the pike position with a running takeoff. And by doing that, she steps up her degree of difficulty. So she'll have higher degree of difficulty than Molly Carlson. She's been feeling that pressure from Molly, of course, and so she's stepping up the game, and that just shows that competitive spirit and shows that she's a true champion. A very versatile athlete. She's got a great repertoire, good range of dives as well. An all-round athlete. She's so consistent.
2 divers left on the women's side in the second round, okay? We have 4 rounds of diving total. So the women's second round is going to wrap up. Molly Carlson and Kaylee Arnett will get right into the men's second round. There'll be 12 men in that round. Then we'll go right back into the women's third round live here on Red Bull Cliff Diving's YouTube page, and then followed by the men's third round live. And all 4 rounds count for those new to cliff diving. So every single dive and every single score is added together towards the end. It's not over until that 4th round dive has taken place. Anything can happen, as Rhea will most likely go into the lead. She does with a 153. And Molly Carlson and Kaylee Arnett, remember, a 3-way tie at the top after that first round dive off the balcony. Pretty intense. And Kaylee, not too bad at all. Like, the start to the competition, 8.5s
across the board.
Across the board, it's beautiful. Like, it just shows her consistency and why she's been able to win 7 King Kili trophies. What do you have, Joey?
Just a quick little comment here. Are the Romanians diving today? Yes, we'll see Konstantin Popovic.
But not
but not Catalan Preda. So we do believe he'll be back for the next competition. So keep an eye out for Costa. But now it's all about Molly Carlson to cap off the round.
Lots of people.
Nice
Carlson.
work,
Hey, you know what I was
Molly.
wondering? I mean, you have a lot of people in the water, the safety divers, we have camera crews, Joey. But look at that right there. Just that current of the water moving right there. I mean, it moves and shifts 6 inches to maybe a foot. I mean, if you don't hit it perfectly, then maybe that water can come up and hit you differently, right?
It can. So when it gets a little bit, it's a bit soupy in there as well. So you kind of get the waves lapping against the cliff face on both sides. It's very sort of, like I said, it's a bit of a soupy kind of wave condition. And yeah, you can get a little bit unlucky and kick up some splash, but very good scores. 2 9s from the judges.
Wow.
Molly Carlson.
Wow.
And the take off the fly at the entry was fantastic. Well-deserved scores.
The high and the lower toss, the remaining 3 are multiplied by the degree of difficulty. It's a very simple process and easy. That's what I love about this Cliff Diving World Series. 88.4. So again, that added together with the first round, she gets 154 total after 2 rounds. Moves into the lead. Walks gracefully with her Crocs across that.
And you need, but you need the Crocs. It's actually quite a long walk, so you've got to get off the wobbly worm there and onto a very sort of rocky, pebbly beach, and then weave your way through the crowds and all the restaurants in the town, which is quite a sight, seeing all the athletes and the bathers. The locals love it.
We're still yet to see Molly Carlson without a smile on her face.
I know.
Still yet to be
Even when she
determined.
doesn't dive well, she's still smiling. I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of a dang nabbit, you know what I mean? A bit of a shadow throw.
Just slamming
bit
in
of
the
a John
water.
McEnroe.
Look at that.
Oh,
the whitewashed
beautiful.
village, the beautiful streets, tons of history here, and a great vibe. And I tell you what, a diver who has brought a really nice vibe to this series is Kaylee Arnett.
Getting the boogie on, getting the groove on.
Second ever Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series competition, in the first one in Boston 2 weeks ago. Second place, shaking things up.
Busting out the triple half here, so that's a front triple. Half twist. Beautiful pike.
Look at that.
Whoa, whoa.
I tell you what.
Here we go, folks.
Whoa.
Keep an eye out for Kaylee
Molly's like,
Arnett.
I have more things to worry about. That was a nice clap she had there, but she's like, I have more things to worry about.
Yeah.
And her name's Kaylee Arnett.
I dare say we've got 3 big guns. And Kaylee Arnett is proving that she is formidable with scores like that.
The judges give her all 9s except for 1 8.5 in the mix, but she will drop that 8.5 and a 9. She'll keep 3 9s. And that should put her into the top spot.
Here we go.
You've got to be kidding me.
And that's the great thing,
She didn't even know how to get to the platform earlier. She didn't even know how to get there through the village.
Yeah, that whole video was fantastic. She's like, where am I going? Where am I going?
So Kaylee Arnett having some fun, and it is absolutely paying off. 158, and she will lead going into the women's round 3.
Definitely got the performer background, right?
I mean, this is like if you watch a football game, Joey, and like a fourth string
Dude,
quarterback.
You missed the dive
I saw
roll.
that. It was
the
good.
Nikita roll. That was the best part about the whole thing.
It's like a fourth string quarterback coming in, or in football or soccer, and you're coming in, and all of a sudden you're like scoring goals, and you're hitting touchdowns.
The other thing
off
too
the
is
bench.
she's coming in as an underdog. I mean, there's nothing to lose, everything to gain. So she's just going for it and really enjoying the atmosphere, taking it all in, and that's really important. This is a privilege to be diving in this sport in these beautiful locations, and I'm sure she's lapping it up right now. But what a dive!
Unreal. So congrats to
That was awesome.
Kaylee. Just to get you up to speed again. We just wrapped up the second round for the women. We will look at their third round live shortly, but first it's time for the men's second round. And then tomorrow, tune in live from Polignano, Mare, where we're at now, for the finals, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. C-E-S-T. All right. 158.10 sets the tone and pace going into the women's round number 3. It is Kaylee Arnett of the United States in her second ever Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, leading the charge over Molly Carlson and the great Rhiannon Iflin in third. Cassetti in fourth. Wow, the youngster from Italy doing a very nice job. As we look at 7 through 12, lead head, Van Kotvik, Carpenter, Ellie Smart, moving up one spot, Madeleine Bayo on France. Yana Natsirava is a scratch from competition because of the injury. What a beautiful, spectacular day here in Polignano, Mare, Italy. Stop number 101. We celebrated 100 folks in Boston, USA 2 weeks ago. Trace Worthington, Joey Zuber, thanks for chilling with us at stop number 3 of the 2024 season of 8 stops. And I wish I was in one of those boats right now. Kick it back. It'd be nice.
Too. Just get a little bit of a swim on, a little bit of a tan, and then come out of the water and have a little bit of spaghetti.
It is a beautiful day, you guys. The Adriatic Sea, Polignano Mare, Italy. It's the 12th time that we've competed at this stop. The 11th season we've been here, but we had one competition. Puglia. David Beraldi, he's a scratch. Jonathan Martinez, he will run number 2. Prigorov 3. Popovich. Heslop running number 5. He's usually in the top 3. And then we have now the top 6 coming into the final of round number 2. So anything can happen, but here it is with Fedotov, Jimeno, and Paredes in the top 3. Johnny Paredes, because he had the highest score after the first round of diving, that's why he is going last. Now you say Beraldi, Joey pointed down towards an area that was interesting, meaning maybe what, the growing area?
That's funny.
I was wondering what you were doing there, but now I get it.
Funny.
Now I get it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't talking about me, but anyway, it's about his injury. No, about an adductor, pulled groin. So pretty common. I mean, look at the height of the platform, folks. 27.6 meters, 90 feet high, 8-story, 9-story high-rise. That's what they're diving from, plummeting their way down.
There's some technical guy out there who'd be like, you mean 90.66,
Oh, no, 90.66. Guy just going to just correct me. You forgot to calculate the wind as well. Let's talk about Jolot Martinez. Jolotl.
Love watching this kid. Made his debut at the last stop, Boston. Well, the first stop of the season. 21 years old. Mexico, kaboom, kicking things off. Whoa. Martinez.
Well, I don't know about the kaboom. I would just say boom.
Boom, yeah.
Let's remove the car and just keep it with the boom.
Kaboom means a lot of noise, right? Actually, there was no noise. That was a rip entry, just like his idol, Jonathan Paredes.
No, I mean, I've spent quite a lot of time in Mexico. And I've known this kid since he's around about 14. He's always such a polite young man. Great personality.
Yeah.
He did compete in the World Aquatics World Championships in Budapest in synchronized 3-meter diving. So he has an excellent technical background, high caliber of diving. The foundation of cliff diving is still a majority diving. So you need the same technical skills that you would see divers and athletes performing from the 10-meter platform, and then applying that to cliff diving, but of course landing feet first with the Barani maneuver being one of the most common entry maneuvers right at the end of the dive. Got a few questions here coming in the chats. We have answered this already. Are the Romanians diving today? Yes, we will see Konstantin Popovic diving. Kathleen Preda did get injured in Boston, but we do believe we'll see him coming up in the next competition. And once again, shout out to Catlin again. Happy birthday.
See more people joining our YouTube live as we look at Alexei Prigorov.
Alexei Prigorov,
37-year-old from Ukraine.
Currently banned from coming to my house ever again and being a hot tub. That's it. I've put a lifelong ban on you and Nikita. Had way too much fun in my house. You guys are done.
All right, Alexei Prigorov, 2 to go of the 11 men in this second round. Davide Baraldi, excuse me, a scratch, the Italian. So that'll kick things off with Prigorov in round 2. Just a reminder, all 4 rounds count in Red Bull cliff diving. They're all added together. We've already seen women's round 1 and 2. 7s across the board. A reminder that 5 judges score between 0 and 10. High and the low toss, remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty.
And so the judges are only looking at the execution of the dive. They are disregarding the degree of difficulty tariff. So the tariff is fixed at 3.6 in the intermediate round, but in the following round, round 3, so we'll see the women coming up in round 3, it's called unlimited degree of difficulty. The divers will also call that optional. That means it's just an optional dive. You can do whatever you want. You can push the boundaries, do as many somersaults and twists as possible, and you get a higher degree of difficulty tariff with that, but it does come with risk, and you have to play that game of risk versus reward. Is it worth the risk of doing the really difficult dives because I might miss the dive or get injured, or do you roll the dice and say, let's do this, let's go to Vegas?
All right, this is a good story. Not a good story. I mean, not for him anyway. Konstantin Popovich, the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series King Kaakili Trophy winner of 2023. All right, winner of the first stop of the 2024 season. So we'll look at some scores here for Alexei Prigorov. 139.80 is his total. But going back to the Konstantin Popovich story, King Kaakili Trophy winner, only one of 5 men who have ever won it, by the way. And Popovich injured. Tell us about it, from Boston, and now he's back. I mean, the guy, we didn't think we'd see him here.
No, in all honesty, because, he had to be actually carried out of the water or lifted out of the water. So he hyperextended his knee on his arm stand dive in round 3 in Boston. So he didn't get the chance to complete his 4th and final round in Boston. So he still ended up in 11th, not in last place, despite the fact that he only did 3 dives, not his normal 4 dives. And again, this tells you how hard,
resilient,
how tough the impact is.
Oh, yeah.
For all of these athletes, right? So this is up to 10 G-forces. So when he hit the water, actually over-rotated. I suspected it might have been another injury, maybe a bit of a lower back injury. But as he hit the water, the knee hyperextended. But Konstantin Popovich, without a doubt, is the hardest working athlete. Look at that incredible shot. You can see the water spray there helping the athlete see the surface to cut the transparency. That is the bird's eye view, and that is scary. Wow. Look at that. We're all set for the intermediate round.
It's one of the most resilient divers you'll ever see right here. Nothing kicks this guy out of a competition. There we go. Konstantin Popovich, the Romanian shark, the 35-year-old World Series winner from 2023. I don't know, Joey. What do you think? He looks pretty solid, but obviously it must be a little nerve-wracking for him just to make sure he can make it through this competition without further injury.
Exactly. So he has altered one of his optional dive rounds, his difficult dives, opting out not to do the arm stand dive. I suspect that's to do with his legs having to bend and then flick into an extended straight position, and he's probably worried about that hyperextending a little bit. But I'm so impressed to see how well he's done with the rehab to be back diving here, showing that he is a consummate professional, hard-working athlete, and extremely talented as well.
Now, just several years ago, on this wobbly plank, the angry plank, the angry, whatever the angry snake is what we like to call it, which is this floating dot going back. Costa actually fell off it and injured his foot. He kind of broke his foot.
Well, not kind of. He broke his bones.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. No, he broke a 2 or 3 metatarsals. So he was in a boot. And
it's on that right there. So see how that, look at that wobbling right there. But he actually just jumped off it right? Not thinking it, but that's just such a sharp rock surface underneath right there on this beach,
Yes.
the Lama Manakile beach.
A lot of pebbles, a lot of big kind of stones underneath
Yeah.
there, so it's not, it ain't sand, folks. It's rocks.
Yeah. So that, I'm sure he's taken a bit slower over the past several years, which he is, but interacting with the fans, having some fun.
How cool is that for the spectaters?
Yeah.
Right? Up close and personal, seeing the action.
Exactly. You see Frosty down there. He's right by Costa. Hey, you going to talk about that wobbly, that angry snake there, Frosty?
Yeah, so I guess they figure it's pretty dangerous, so they should send the stunt guy down to check it out. So let me give you a couple steps onto this platform. I mean, not only is it bouncing up and down, it's slippery, it's wet, and I'm just a few steps on here, and it is already shaking back and forth. And if you can see down there, it gets up and down. I mean, this is like a roller coaster ride. And don't be deceived by the shallow water. Like you heard, Constantine blew out his leg, like totally busted himself. That is no joke. So when we tell you that cliff diving is a serious sport, that it's challenging, it's not just diving from 27 meters, it's just walking to and from the platform. This is one of the hardest sports in the world, without a doubt. Look, here we go. Oh, it's moving. It's moving. It's not even as windy as it was yesterday.
Hey, Frosty, show us your parkour skills.
I'm
We know
just
you're
trying to
pretty
stay dry
acrobatic. You can handle it.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Whoa. Whoa. How'd that look?
Nice.
Yeah, bro. That's
Nice.
it.
Love it.
All right, but the fans are loving
All
it.
right.
Everybody in the crowds.
Yeah,
Living it up.
no doubt about it. Good job, Frosty. Michael Frosty Snow joining us. The hot spot, the town beach right there. Getting busy on the dock as Aiden Heslop now just pulled into the lead with a 144.80. Polignano a Mare, Italy. Stop number 3 of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, where the houses literally rise from the rocks.
I always wondered, like, how do you actually go about building the house? So, like, you know, where do you put the first brick? Like, do you just start on the edge and work your way backwards, or? I mean, that's an engineering feat in its own right.
You should go on our YouTube chat room and ask that question.
Yeah, okay. I
Maybe
will.
somebody.
I'll answer my own question in the chat room. Cool.
Sergio Guzman, 33-year-old from Mexico. Aiden Heslop in the lead with 144.80. We're in the men's round 2 of 4. We will see round 2 live today, but round 4 will be tomorrow live on Red Bull TV here from Polignano a Mare, Italy. 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST as Guzman drills one in. Very nice entry.
And if you're wondering how deep the athletes go when they're hitting the water, being a little emotional there, having a bit of fun. So they're going down about 4 meters, 5 meters on average on a good dive. So 5 meters is 16 feet deep. But of course, if you don't have a good landing, you're not going to go very deep. Just a few little points as well here in the chat room. Some people are saying, oh, we missed Aiden's dive. So yeah, we do apologize for that, but he did well. He did score some 8s and some 7.5s. And of course, we'll see him, hopefully we'll see him
Third
dive
round.
in the third round.
Third round. Sorry, Helen. We'll get your back.
Yep, sorry, Helen.
We'll send you the video.
That's Helen Heslop.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll be fuming at us right now.
We aren't working the cameras,
Not our
Helen.
fault.
We're just talking away here.
Guzman leaning, yeah. Okay, pushing the lead there.
Aiden's parents, though, so supportive. Great to see them around over the years. And Guzman will come in with the top score for the now after, again, adding the round 1 and 2 together. Guzman of Mexico with a 146.20. So the question is, Joe, you have these first 2 rounds, okay? So you have the required and intermediate. Then we get into the big stuff. That's when the game changes a lot, right?
Yeah, you'll see
in the optional rounds, which is round 2 and 3 and 4. Excuse me.
And you'll see a degree of difficulty up to, say, 6.0. On average, a lot of the dives are around 4.6, 4.8, 4.9. So 6.0 is a massive dive.
He-
Fedotop will do that.
Miguel
Garcia.
Garcia. 7th place, finishes at the first 2 stops of the season. Not bad.
Yeah.
Again, consistency is what it's all about on this Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Because we've seen people like Aiden, right? Like come out of the gates hard with a 1st or a 2nd place finish, and then boom, he's 11th, right?
Yes.
Like you never know. It's all
No,
about
that's
the
a very good point, actually. So when they're doing these big dives, you can hit it, right? So you've got high degree of difficulty. With good scores, of course, you're going to push into the lead. But occasionally, it doesn't go to plan. I mean, so much has to go right with those difficult dives. You have to have the takeoff perfect. You have to do all the right things in the air. You have to make those split-second adjustments at the end of the dive to get the entry right. So a lot has to go right. It takes the smallest mistake to change the result of the dive from 9s down to 5s, for example. I'd just like to talk about Miguel as well. Really impressed that he's consistently, improving in the results, but he's also starting to learn more difficult dives. Last year, he tried out the front triple with 3.5 twists. Now he's doing the triple quad backwards, so he's adding more twists and somersaults. Actually, he was getting a little bit confused between doing 2.5 twists and 3.5 twists, and at one point he just said, look, I just need to do all of my dives with triple twists or 3.5 twists so I don't get confused in the air. And that's a pretty common thing. And that is something to be worried about when you're switching up the number of twists in the dives. But now it's all about the All-American James Lichtenstein. The flipper, the twister.
Lichtenstein, 29 years old of the United States. And listen to this. World Series leader on the men's side right now.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Oh, yeah, boy.
Just think about James, right? I mean, he's a smart competitor. He just kind of cruises out, hits it, nails it. Look at all the competitors and the beach right there. Again,
steady,
we had 8 stops this season, which is really cool. This is the 3rd stop. Then we go to the Causeway Coast of Northern Ireland after this. Oslo, Norway, always fun, Joey. Montreal, Canada, that's a new stop. Antalya, Turkey.
Yes.
And then Sydney, Australia would be the final stop of the season.
There's some great locations this year. It's a good contrast, good mix. Some natural locations, some urban environments.
Just to remind the viewer too, this round 2, we haven't shown these rounds live, right? We show round 1 on TikTok, which is awesome. Round 2 and 3 for the first time in history, YouTube Live. We have a lot of fun with that. Usually we just go on for round 4 on Red Bull TV and Facebook Live. So we appreciate the viewers and their patience on how we're doing this. A little bit more organic, a little bit more fun for round 2. We're going to do some cool things in round 3. Stick around for that, which is coming up shortly.
Yeah.
You'll see some more replays with round 3. And then tomorrow, our big show goes down on Red Bull TV. So props to our crew for getting this on live round 2 and 3 so people and fans can see these rounds.
Well, this is normally our rehearsal period for the camera guys as well, so that's why it's a little bit more, as you said, it's a little bit more loose and lean in the beginning.
And we promise we'll show Aiden Heslop.
Yeah, but otherwise
in the 3rd round. Well, I can't promise that. I can't.
I'm just otherwise Helen
just sitting here.
is going to chop us up.
Okay, this would be fun.
Hey, the local Italian boy.
Barnaba.
Andrea Barnaba. Very, very talented young man.
No, 20 years old.
Keep an eye out for him.
Once again, 21.6 meters above the Adriatic Sea, 71 feet.
27.6 meters for the men's platform.
Oh yeah, thanks. I said that wrong, didn't I? I said the women's platform. Joey Zuber backing me up as Barnaba drops in. Nice job by the 20-year-old.
Dude, this kid is awesome. He is exquisite. So much style, so much class in his diving. Super fun to watch. The new guard, the new generation working. Whoa!
Wow. A 10 thrown up by, who is that? Anka Piper from Germany, the head judge. She loves it. But all 9.5s with 1-9. So the 9 and 10 will be tossed. And Barnaba of Italy. Barnaba.
I told you, man. I told you.
You did. I mean, we've been talking about this kid for a bit. Some of the new guard popping in there into the scene. And this guy throwing down some huge scores.
No, he's just going to play it safe, keep the degree of difficulty relatively low. But in the future, sure,
look at that, 102.
No way.
0.60. So the Italian fans getting what they came for. Barnaba moves into the lead with a 167.40 after the men's round number 2.
How's that?
Yeah.
Little youngster, local Italian, scoring a 10 in front of the home crowd. What a buzz. So cool.
He was walking the streets yesterday. Probably not many people knew who he was, and now he's just like
so
a rock
cool
star.
The little kids as well. That's great. So respectful to the fans out there.
All right, so Barnaba, 167.40, leading the charge as we look at a beautiful shot of Polignano, Mare, Italy. Just about 45 minutes outside of Bari. Short flight from Rome. Nikita Fedotov, one of the most consistent divers ever on this World Series, arguably, I would say. Joey?
Yeah, he's definitely, I'll call him a dangerous diver, but in the good way. Dangerous that he's very competitive. He has the capacity to win competitions. Looking in great form, great shape. In with triple half here, so spinning in towards the platform. Sea's looking relatively calm now. Looks like it's a little calmer than before.
Yeah, so Fedotov, look at that, pounding the entry into the Adriatic. So that should help Fedotov with points in terms of leading coming into round number 3. All 4 rounds count. We are winding down to the top 3 men in the second round. They will move on to the women's 3rd round, followed by the men's 3rd round. Then tomorrow live on Red Bull TV, the 4th and final round, and we'll crown a champion here from Polignano, Mare, Italy. 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST tomorrow. And of course, you can always go to redbullcliffdiving.com to find out where it airs and when it airs and what it airs on in your area. Right now, it is Fedotov in 2nd behind young Barnaba of Italy. So Barnaba making some noise here.
And Nikita's got some really big dives coming up in the latter rounds. We need to keep an eye out for that.
Williasina coastline stretching over 800 kilometers, about 500 miles of beautiful coastline, and a guy who knows cliffs well and is used to diving in these, this type of atmosphere. Off the cliffs and into the ocean is Carlos Gimeno, 34-year-old Spaniard. 2nd place, stop number 1. Lit it up last year, earned a permanent diver position for this season. The dude's been on fire since last year.
So entertaining to watch, isn't he? Always smiling, comes with a lot of energy and style.
And now Jonathan Paredes is next. So Carlos Gimeno with a bit of an uncharacteristic entry.
Yeah.
On that, with that large splash, it's not going to bode well for a guy who we usually see nailing entries. Pretty sweet.
But again, to highlight the fact that it's very easy to miscalculate the entry. Maybe you have a bit of sun glare in your eyes. You come out of the position, the tuck position, the ball shape too early or too late. And he over-rotated on that particular dive. So over-rotating means going past that vertical line. If we talk about going short, so short meaning that you land more on your chest on a dive like that. So short in diving terminology, landing on your chest over, normally landing over on your back. So again, 27.6 meters, 90 feet high. Athletes traveling down to around about 4 to 5 meters of water depth, 14 to 16 feet when they hit the water. Of course, depending on how the entry or how the landing was.
Water temperature 23 degrees Celsius, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Warm day outside, low scores for Jimeno on that one. So 68.4 on that on that second round dive. So 137. Oh man, drops him all the way to 10th. But let's keep in mind something. Let's keep this in mind. He went from second to 10th, right? Mm-hmm. You can always go from 10th back to second in the third and fourth round. So,
no, and you see it sometimes. I mean, I've seen Konstantin Popovic actually in the past in 10th after round one, clawed his way back up and made it to 6, and then found his way back up into the top 3 again. So sometimes you can make up for lost ground with that.
Probably a good time to talk about just the mental part of the sport.
Yeah.
You look at Jonathan Paredes. He's had some troubles over the past several years, just a few injuries, and then, really, when you're not mentally there, you can kind of consider that a mental injury, right? Like that's where he's at. Pulled out of Boston. This wasn't feeling right.
Yeah.
Good call.
And some of it stemmed back to San Rafael and France, and
during kind of COVID time right there. So Jonathan Paredes, though, I tell you what,
great comeback dive. That's awesome.
So Johnny Paredes, who was leading after the first round, now continuing to dive very well here in the second round. Jonathan Paredes will cap off the men's second round before we get into the women's third round of diving. So some mixed scores there, some 8.5s, throw some 9s in there.
I mean, that's good diving, man. I mean, that's the thing about Johnny. He's, without a doubt, one of the best technicians. I'll call him the entry technician.
Yeah.
His capacity, his understanding of how to adjust for the entry and get those clean entries is, without a doubt, the best out of all the athletes.
He'll move into second with that 91.8 added together with his first round. That's why you see the 164. That's 2 rounds added together. So Paredes will move into second. That is very solid entering the third round. So what Johnny will need to do is step up that degree of difficulty, though. That's when everything gets really interesting coming into those optional round dives. Johnny's usually sitting pretty good at this point. And then we see some of these guys bust out the big stuff, and then the leaderboard starts changing heavily. But we'll see if Johnny can hang in there. Nice job for him to get back into the mix mentally, though. But Andrea Barnaba is the big story here. The youngster from Italy in front of his home country fans, leading the way going into the men's round 3. Heslop in 6th place. Usually he's higher than that, but he has some huge degree of difficulty in the tank. We're going to look forward to that.
But so does Nikita, actually. We'll keep an eye on that.
Nikita does too, you're right. So there you go, round shot. And for Mama Heslop, here you go, Helen. Here you go.
The producers listen to you, Helen. They go, we point it out on air, and then here we go.
Aiden Heslop.
There you go, folks. We've got the replay of Aiden Heslop's time. Rest assured,
there you go.
We deliver.
There you go.
And he did deliver on that dive. I mean, just a slight over rotation, scoring some 8s and 7.5s.
He may have preferred not to have this shown.
Oh, no, come on. No, it was a good dive. It was a good dive.
I'm kidding.
But it will be exciting to see what he'll do in the next rounds to come.
Yeah.
This kid just hucks it down. He throws it down. He gives it all he's got.
For those new to cliff diving, wait till you see Aiden Heslop in the third round. He throws some big stuff. All right, Jonathan Paredes making a nice little comeback here in Polignano Mare. Frosty, you're with him.
legend himself. You just won round one. You're sitting in second place right now. You're back in business. What have you been doing since Boston to get yourself in the game?
You know, after Boston, I've been working a lot on my lead-ups of my back twist. You know, the one that scared me in Boston. It was the one that makes me quit, and now I've been working a lot with my psychology. And I think it's gonna be a pretty good competition for me. I feel more comfortable with myself. I train my dive already on the practice, so everything should be fine.
Well, it obviously is working, whatever you're doing, so you should keep that up. What can we expect from you in the next round?
Well, you know, it's my back twist. As I said before, is the one that I'm happy I did it in practice. Hopefully it's gonna be a good, and hopefully fight for the podium.
I have there at the top. So good job today. Looking forward.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Thanks. It's great to hear. Thank you, Frosty, by the way. Cutting in and out, you know, because they're just running off the phone right there. It's the internet. So thanks, everyone, for their patience. But here's what I like about Johnny right now. You know, he's now very transparent about the issues he's having, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of hiding them, now he's just out in the open and just talking about it. And I think that is going to help him.
Well, the other thing
I've been
too,
in that case before as a freestyle skier, Joey. And, you know, at one point you know, you don't want to tell anybody, you know, oh, I'm really good, everything's all
well,
good.
The other
but
thing too is he's doing, you know, he's taking action. He's doing something about it.
Yeah, it's
Working
great.
with a psychological expert, you know, who specializes in sport.
Women's round 3 coming at you now live here on YouTube. And that is the start list. Nesterov has a scratch, and there are the top 6 after the second round. We'll see Quintero, followed by Panizzi from Australia, Cassetti, the local diver from Italy, and then the big guns, Rhiannon Iflin, Molly Carlson, and how about Kaylee Arnett once again? If you just joined us, the wild card diver from the United States in her second ever Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series will dive last, meaning she is in the lead after women's round 2. That is incredible. Beautiful day along the Adriatic Sea here in Polignano, Mare, Italy, the Puglia region. Coastline stretching over 800 kilometers, 500 miles. Beautiful bridge right there that everyone walks over to get to the event. The Lama Manakile Beach. I'm Trace Worthington, joined by Red Bull cliff diving expert Joey Zuber. Thanks for hanging with us, YouTube Live, guys. Weigh in on your comments. You can see them, and we will do our best to answer any questions that you may have. But I can tell you right now that we are live in women's round 3 of 4. Then it'll be followed by the men's round number 3. Then we'll get into the Red Bull TV show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Round 4 live tomorrow, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST. Now, kick off with our first diver on the women's side for round number 3. Madeleine Bayonne, the only French female ever to be on the World Series.
Correct, yeah.
So Bayonne will kick off the women's 3rd round off that 21.6 meter, 71-foot platform. Joey's pointing at his chin right now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I like one of your references before when you're coming in, and if you don't create that tunnel with your feet to kind of cut that cylinder, then it's like going through a manhole and hitting your chin. It's like jumping into a manhole, but you hit your chin on the top of it before you go down.
Oh, it's an uppercut.
Yeah.
And when you land short of vertical, I mean, this is still a good dive. This is the optional dive round, starting to push the degree of difficulty up there now. So there's the tuck. And she comes around here, and we can just see it in a little bit more detail now that we have the replays here for round 3. And just under rotating here, coming up short, but right there you feel the water coming up literally underneath your chin. It's like an uppercut from a boxer, and you get that little, I call it the hot face. It's a little bit of a slap in the face, and the next day you feel it in the neck. That's one of the main things that I noticed. If I had a bit of time off from cliff diving, you wake up in the morning and go, whoa, the neck really took a pounding.
Yeah. So Bayonne with a 146.45 as her total after 3 rounds are added together. The 4th round will also be added in the mix. A lot of people ask in the chat room, I heard, how do they pick the dive locations?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
it's a really good question, and there's a variety of things. First, the location or the area, let's say the region or the state or the country, has to want the event to start with, right?
Exactly, yeah. So the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series sort of puts it out there to the host countries and said, look, who's interested in hosting a competition? And then sometimes you'll get submissions from the locals in the country saying, here, I've got an idea. And then, of course, cliff diving experts come out to check the logistics. So the logistics will entail, obviously, the height, you know, where could you set up a platform, how deep the water is, where the judges are going to sit. Are they going to have to be in the water? Are the judges going to have to be on land? You know, where are the cameras going to be? So actually, with the location checks, have to encompass a lot of different factors for the event, as well as the actual technical aspects for the sport. Now it's Ellie Smart on the platform.
Person who doesn't care if it's a Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series platform or cliff. She goes and dives and jumps everywhere she wants and anywhere, anytime. And right there, Ellie Smart, she needs to crawl back up that leaderboard.
Yeah.
Not have a great first 2 stops of this season. Struggling a little bit in the competition side of things. Diving well, practicing well.
Yeah.
Just kind of, you know, having some unfortunate situations during the competition itself.
Look, it's like this in all sports, isn't it? I mean, you see, you know, NFL players go through periods where they're, you know, not quite performing and, you know, not making their yard lines or not making their catches. And that just happens in sports. So you have to dig through that and think, okay, what's going wrong? Or, you know, how do I need to recalibrate? What do I need to do differently? How do I adjust? But the sport of cliff diving is so difficult, so challenging mentally. So many technical things have to go right. You have to do a lot of training off the low heights, practicing those somersaults and twists, mostly to make sure that you feel comfortable with aerial awareness, but just miscalculating the entry there for Ellie. So I'm sure she's a bit disappointed, but I'm sure she'll come back fighting strong, hopefully next competition or the next round.
So Molly Carlson, a lot of fans on our YouTube chat waiting for Molly. She will dive within the top 3 women. Molly making her way through the cobblestone walk path. That, you know, just that journey to the platform, Joey, is so special. Wait, she doesn't have a smile on her face.
You're looking focused.
She is focused, but it's cool.
But that's I call that the nervous walk, though. You're walking towards the, you know, the platform to the house, and you start thinking about, okay, what have I got to do? How's it going to be? So yeah, it's a competition. You start to feel nervous. You're nervous about 2 things: the competition, and number 2, you're nervous about the dives, especially in this round where the degree of difficulty ramps up. And you can see the tariff there. You can see the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen. 4.0 DD. DD means degree of difficulty. So the higher that little scale's up there, the higher degree of difficulty.
Oh, Maylee Carpenter, some good degree of difficulty, a lot of spinning in the middle there, Joey. You could talk about that, but the 36-year-old Maylee Carpenter of the United States with her 3rd round dive. Getting pretty interesting and seeing the water move around a little bit, maybe catching up with a few of these divers, Joey, in terms of their entry.
Yeah, I mean, like, all 3 of the women that we've seen in this round have all come up short, so they've under-rotated. I'm just trying to figure out why that might be. I mean, occasionally it can be very difficult to see the surface. There are times, I mean, I've dove here in the past, you can get a lot of sun glare, and perhaps that can put you off and you may not be adjusting. On the takeoff, perhaps a little cut down for my liking. It would be better if that she did take off a little bit steeper, a little bit higher, and that actually can affect the entry. So what happens on takeoff can result in short landings like that. So if you haven't given enough gas or given enough rotation, enough height, you can undercook the dive, so to speak.
So round 3 for Maylee Carpenter. You'll see the graphics down below. So that's the 4 and 3, 4.5. So in yellow is this dive, the 3rd round, 52. Add that together with all 3 so far, 170. So Maylee Carpenter of the United States, that will be the top spot. As you look at Kaylee Arnett, top seed coming into this this round 3 for the women. This is the area where the divers hang out. This is the Labate family.
The terrace
there. So that's just right to the right behind the platform. is where the divers get staged. Snacks, bananas, Red Bull, whatever you need.
Jeannie Van Kutswijk looking to redeem herself, like her husband Matthew Cooper was talking about. So she did balk on the dive, that meaning that she did an arm stand, had to come back down and then come back up again for a retry. So she's looking to hold a steady handstand here. Big degree of difficulty, 4.2. The only woman in the world doing this dive currently.
Hey, let's talk about the chamois. Actually, she has a little chamois company, doesn't she? The chamois.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Sells her
tie-dye looking chamois. To show you can talk about the chamois here after we see this dive. And as you mentioned, the arm stand dive, so difficult, right? I mean, just up above the water, Adriatic Sea, 21.6 meters, 71 feet above the water. You're going to do an arm stand. What?
Ooh, okay, hold steady. Hold it.
Nicely done. Nicely done by the cruise ship diver, Jeannie Van Kutswijk. Nailing it, drilling it, and putting one down. Hey, talk about the chamois real quick before we break down her dive.
Okay, yeah, well, chamois, quickly, they're used to dry up the legs so you don't slip out in the air. If you slip out in the air, you're going to pancake it. You're going to end up like a biscuit on the water and splat yourself. I've seen it happen. It's happened in the Olympics before. You don't want to do it. You want your legs dry. You don't want to slip out.
It's like a basketball player with grease on their hand trying to shoot the basketball. I don't know. Give me some analogy.
A little bit of resin. You spray the resin on your hand. But hey, she had a little bit of a wobble in the handstand, so there was a bit of a moment where everyone went, and I'm sure she did too.
Oh, look, her head came pretty close to the platform.
But those front arm stands are really, really hard to generate rotation. If you're doing a back arm stand, in fact, it is easier to generate the rotation, to get enough rotational speed. But going forwards, you have to have this quite strange kip technique, we called it. That's a new dive. Only woman in the world doing it. She's got to be proud of herself.
Hey, Steve LeBou's weighing in. On some stuff. 77 on that. Hold on, real scores real quick. She'll move into the lead with 200.30. So Jeannie Van Kutswijk, middle of the women's field, will move into the top spot in the third round. 4 total rounds. What Steve's saying says, don't forget these mental challenge, the mental challenge of the platform being higher than the traditional 20 meters. I mean 10 meters? No.
Well, yeah. In World Aquatics events, it's 20 meters.
20 meters. Okay.
So there's about 1.5 meters difference, and it does make a difference. Let's say you did a competition and you were at 20 meters and then you switch over to this one. You need to make some adjustments. You have to either slow down the takeoff or come out a little earlier. There's Orlando.
There's Orlando. Duque. Joey, you can continue your story. I just want to make sure we understood that Orlando Duque is the legendary diver retiring in 2019. He's our World Series sports director, making sure everything's cool and safe with the divers, representing the scene. Simone Leathead now ready to go.
Correcting some safety traffic, and now she's telling them to splash the water. Some of the athletes will move the safety divers into a position they feel comfortable with to help them spot the water better.
All right, Simone Leathead. A lot of eyes on her, the young Canadian. She's bursting onto the scene, especially after doing very well at the first stop of the season in Athens, where she took third.
There's been a lot of missed entries, actually, in this round, and it's, dare say, a little unusual. But Simone...
We were talking about those platforms earlier.
Yeah.
Did you need to finish that story? Sorry, I interrupted you with the Orlando stuff. I just saw Orlando. I may make sure I introduced him.
No, I mean, there's just, so Red Bull rules, 21 meters and above, or like, let's say just a little bit above 21 meters. The rules in World Aquatics will be 20 meters. It can, let's say you're diving in an open water environment in World Aquatics, it can range up to a meter or so. But typically, this particular balcony is over 21 meters. If you were doing a competition, the previous one, let's say about a week before or 2 weeks before you did 20 meters, and then you come to 21.5 meters, you have to make adjustments.
Sure.
You have to change the way that you take off, where you come out of the dive. You have to make a decision. Do I slow it down, or do I come out earlier? But something needs to adjust for that. And it's not that easy sometimes. Molly Carlson, for example, fixed 20-meter platform in Montreal, so she's used to that. When she comes to these competitions, mentally she's got to tell herself, right, I have to do this a little bit differently than I normally would in my training center in Montreal.
I'd like Steve Lebeau, thanks for bringing that up. Steve Lebeau, a legendary diver, past World Series competitor. And actually here in Polignano, Mare, Italy is where he was in contention for the King Kakili Trophy at one point, right? He's kind of going
2018.
Tone.
I think Gary had a few little sort of struggles with some of his dives, and Lebeau was full steam ahead. World champion 2017 as well, Steve Lebeau. Spin master. That boy can flip.
That boy
So
can flip
Lebeau,
and
if you're
twist.
listening
That's
to me,
Steve.
I respect your somersaulting abilities.
So Simone Lead had score 58.50 on that dive. Add that together with the first and second round, 182. Lead head moving into second behind Van Kutvik of the Netherlands, as we now look at Maria Paula Quintero, Colombia. It's an average of 6.2s from the judges to move into the lead. Very doable for the Colombian. She goes. Beautiful dive, Joey, right there. And I tell you what, talk about managing that current at this point. It just fascinates me on how that water moves around so much. And you've done this before many times and dove into these waters.
Yeah.
What if it shifts by like 6 inches?
I mean, not too much of a difference, but I mean, occasionally a swell will come up. Let's say the swell comes up, and it can be half a meter, right?
Yeah.
And that means you've got half a meter less of height. That can affect the entry.
Yeah.
And it does happen sometimes. And we mentioned this earlier in the show, this particular location, if the wind direction changes, it will just turn into a giant soup bowl, lapping against the walls, and can get very, very, very choppy, very windy sometimes as well. Watching Maria Paula Quintero from Colombia, front quad half, quad meaning quad somersault, and the half is the half twist at the end of the dive. That is called a Barani, the trampoline maneuver. Maria Paula Quintero also coming up short on the dive. Seems to be a consistent theme amongst the divers in round 3 here at the moment. Scores.
Kind of in the mid-range there. Once again, 5 judges, 0 to 10. High in the lower toss, remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So Quintero will move into second behind Van Kutvik. Don't forget, we have Panisi, Cassetti, Iflin, Carlson, Arnett coming up. Remember to watch all the stops of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series live and on demand on redbullcliffdiving.com, Red Bull TV, YouTube, and Facebook. The first time ever, all rounds can be watched live on either TikTok and or YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Red Bull TV. Right now we are live on YouTube. Trace Worthington alongside Joey Zuber. Weigh in on your comments. We'll try to do our best to answer all your questions. Tomorrow, live on Red Bull TV, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST. You can watch the final round, number 4, and will crown a champion. Don't forget, the United States, 1:30 p.m. ESPN Plus will be live on that as well. And that beautiful ridge right there. Great shot of the women's platform. As we look at our next diver, Xanthia Panisi.
Great shot of the scale, real sense of perspective of how high these athletes are diving from. So this is around about the 7th story high rise. I don't know if you can imagine that. It'll help you, give you some perspective of what the athletes go through.
Joey, when you're standing up there waiting, can you hear everything? Do you hear people?
Sometimes, I mean, I didn't wait very long on the platform. I didn't like to think too much.
So nothing's changed with you. You still don't wait for much.
No, I
No?
still don't think.
I've seen you eat a whole meal without me starting.
But once you're in the air, it's actually autopilot. The hardest part of the dive, believe it or not, is standing on the platform.
Here we go. All right.
Oh.
Easy. Oh, there you go.
Well worth the wait, right?
Nice job. So 84 seconds is the time that she stood up there, Joey. And she's excited about that one, but I don't know if I could do that. I'm with you. Just get up there and go. Get up there and go.
But everyone's different. I mean, and you do see this in the Olympic sport of diving. Some of the athletes take longer. You know, sometimes Gary Hunt would take quite a while as well. So she's done a good job. Came back to Brisbane, Australia. I was there as well, actually sort of watching her train and sort of recalibrating, and just chose to switch up her optional dives and just take it back a notch, which I think was a smart move.
So we are in the third round of the women, okay? Then we will get right into the third round of the men after this. It's 11, usually 12 men, 12 women. It's 11 in this case, 2 injured, 1 in men's side, 1 on the men's side, 1 on the women's side. So 11 total in round 3 as we'll break down Panizzi's dive right here, Joey. Great shot.
It is. And these dives in with triple half pike, your feet have to come quite close to the platform. With the inward rotating dives, you don't want to be moving too far away from the platform. Why? Because that will make the dive a lot slower. So the further you move away from the platform, that will slow down your rotational speed. And you need to maintain that with diving. That's why you see a lot of the dives, you know, stay relatively close to the platform. And it's actually pretty common on these dives. All of us, all divers in the past, we've all hit our toes on the platform. Not an uncommon thing to happen on that particular dive where you've got the legs straight in the pike position.
89.7 for her third round dive. Adding the first 3 rounds, 223 flat. So Panizzi now, with 4 women remaining in round number 3, will have the top spot. That will put her in a great position going into round 4, being in that top 5, Joey. It is a subjective sport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, admit it, right? The judges give a little more favoritism, I'm guessing, to the top 5 because you're in the top 5, right? You're expected to kind of ramp it up a little bit. In most sports, in my opinion, that happens a lot.
It can happen, yes, but still, the judges will be trying to look at each dive equally and fairly.
Of course. I mean, they always try that.
upon...
That's the intent, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So Alyssa Cassetti, great story here. I'm just a youngster doing a great job in front of her home country. Second youngest female in the women's field. Placed 4th at the first stop in Greece.
That was a great result.
10th ever start, right? I mean, 10th ever start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Just getting rolling.
But I think she's got a good technical background too. I think in the future we may see her try more difficult dives. This is in the triple somersault, the tuck position, the ball shape.
Helped along the way from Alessandro De Rose of Italy. As a youngster, and kaboom, she hits it. Teeny bit of a splash on that. Should hang in there point-wise, though. Again, it's all about good positioning coming into the 4th round. All 4 rounds are added together. Just want to make sure that you're in maybe the top 5, top 4, top 5, top 6, Joey, to kind of get a read on what the others are doing.
Exactly.
Right?
This is a critical round, round 3. You've really got to set the tone, set the pace, as you were mentioning, to give yourself a fighting chance coming into the 4th and final round. And as you've done a great job with, all 4 rounds count, all 4 rounds added together to make the total final score. Just a little hunched and injured. I think she did a great job with this dive. The only thing I would say at the end of the dive, just needed to stand a little taller, a little straighter. Just needed to finish that position with that classic trampoline style Barani with the arms laid by the sides. So you just see a little bit hunched, just that last little bit you need to stand up. But that last 2 meters of the dive, man, that comes up so quickly. You can get caught out sometimes. You think, oh yeah, I've got the dive, and then whack! All of a sudden you've got an uppercut.
So Cassetti, 74, Cassette will move into second behind Panizzi. Now, she's a wild card diver, okay? So, I've seen the people in the chat room wondering how you get a spot. 8 permanent divers. You know, this was at the top of the show, but if you just joined us, 8 permanent divers on the women's side and the men's side automatically go on the entire series.
Yeah.
All right, then 4 are invited in each stop to get a chance, to get a shot. People like Cassetti, people like Arnett, who's actually proving herself nicely.
Exactly. And then speaking of Kaylee Arnett, because she got that podium in Boston, that second place finish, and when you get a podium right off the bat, now she's been given the remainder of the stop, so that's a good example of what you need to do.
And I don't know how Molly Carlson focused. She'll come up shortly. A new dive for Rhiannon Ifland. All right, Joey.
Running takeoff, 1.5 twisting triple.
Oh, look at that. Nicely done by Rhee.
No way. Come on. I mean, that's a brand new dive. And to put it down like that is just unbelievable. That shows you the caliber and the talent of Rhiannon Ifland. Most of the time, right, folks, if you're trying out a new dive, it's expected to see, you know, dives where the entry's missed a little bit, takes you 3 or 4 competitions to get in your groove. Right off the bat, she slides this dive in, tearing it through the water. Best entry of the round so far. Good degree of difficulty, 4.0, and now her total degree of difficulty is higher than Molly Carlson's, and that's putting some pressure on her.
Here's how competitive she is, Rhee, right? She gets the job done over the past several years, does what she needs to do to be on top of the podium, does what she needs to do to be a 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. Now she's getting pressure from Molly Carlson. Now, arguably, Kaylee Arnett, she's like, I better step on the gas pedal, and here she is with a new dive, 8.5s across the board on this one, Joey. So that will be enough to move into the lead quite a bit here in round number 3, so leading into 4. But again, the competitiveness of Rhee, just when you think maybe, well, she's getting a little bit older, she's been on the series a long time, maybe she's wearing down a little bit, and just like that, she steps up like she's 18 years old and nails a new dive and does it beautifully.
And also a bit like Gary Hunt, she's got a great repertoire of dives. She's got a huge range of dives to choose from.
Look at this, Miguel making his way up as we get ready for the men's round 3 after we see Carlson and Arnett. But again, walking through the beautiful village here in Polignano, Mare.
Through the restaurants.
People are like, you want a beer? He's like, hey, maybe afterwards.
Yeah, bro. Just hold that. Mañana. Mañana, people.
All right. 2 women left in round number 3. Live here on YouTube, Trace and Joey with you. Frosty down hanging out, roaming around a little bit. Tomorrow we'll be live on Red Bull TV, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST.
Perfect.
And in the States, ESPN Plus.
And Molly Carlson telling the safety diver to move in a certain direction because she's doing a running takeoff here, so she needs the safety divers in another direction, and the communication between athletes and the safety divers needs to be very clear at this point, particularly with these dives, because the safety divers, they won't be able to see her at the end of the platform because she'll start from behind the platform from their perspective. Big DD, 4.4, quite half. This is where she really needs to hit the dive to make up, to try to chase Rhiannon Ifland down.
And to get a little more padding with Arnett coming up. Wow. Okay.
Dynamic and fun.
That was Aiden Heslop, her boyfriend. Everyone's kind of like great in the air, great form, Joey. They see the splash, get a few deductions there, but nevertheless, Molly Carlson throwing out some big degree of difficulty. You have to love that in itself.
What I do love is the way she approached the takeoff, the position in the air. I mean, technically, from a technical point of view, if you're a coach looking at this, excellent. Watch the arms above the head to help generate the rotation. Nice and tall, good throw, good elevation, so she's not cutting the dive down and throwing down too much. It really went up and over. I thought start the flight absolutely perfect, but over rotating there. Perhaps needed to stand up a little bit taller or come out of the dive a little earlier to slow the rotation down. So she would have known that she would have missed the entry there. Bit of a shame.
All right, we'll see what judges think about Carlson's dive. Don't know if it's going to pull. I mean, really nailed that thing. So Molly most likely not going to be on the top after round 3, but nevertheless an 83, solid enough to put her into second after round number 3. All 4 rounds count. For those new to cliff diving that just joined us, round number 4 will take place tomorrow. So Molly Carlson sitting in second behind Ifland. 255 for Ifland. Carlson 238, Panisi in third with a 223, with our final diver on the women's side for round number 3. And it is the rookie wildcard diver, Kaylee Arnett. Nobody ever thought you would see her standing on top of this platform after only being in 2 total stops in her life.
And we've wanted to actually see Kaylee Arnett dive in the series for quite a number of years now. She was working in various shows around the world and was unable to get time off work to compete in the competitions. But now we have the pleasure of seeing her.
All right, so Kaylee Arnett from the United States, putting the pressure on the biggest names in the sport. Out of nowhere, by the way. 31-year-old Texas-born, now living in Las Vegas. Made her debut in Boston 2 weeks ago. So again, Joey, comparing it to other sports, you usually can read other athletes. Like if you're in, again, basketball, soccer, you kind of know and get the feel for how other people play. Molly Carlson and Rhiannon Ifland have no idea how she works her game, right?
No.
So they're like now trying to figure this out. Like, what do we need to do to stay ahead of things?
Now Kaylee Arnett coming up a little bit of shorter vertical there on the inward triple half. But still, great diving, beautiful pike position in the air, and she's enjoying the atmosphere. But talking about other athletes, at the end of the day, when you do get on the platform, you do need to think about yourself and what you need to do. What everyone else has done is out of your control. You've just got to focus on what you can do. That being said, if you do see some of the other divers do an amazing dive, there's pressure. You feel it, you know it.
So Kaylee Arnett, still a solid score, just not enough to stay on top of the leaderboard. So Kaylee Arnett in third as we get ready for the men's competition here in Polignano, Mare, Italy. Rooftop terraces overlooking the sea, breathtaking. So Ifland after the third round, leading the charge, coming into the 4th and final round. No surprise, it's usually either Ifland or Carlson in this particular case, especially over the past couple years. But Kaylee Arnett shaking things up in third. Xanthia Panisi now back in the mix after departing from Boston. Nice job with her. And now you look 7 through 12. Nestoraba is a scratch, little neck injury early. Hope she's doing all right. That's what it looks like after women's round number 3. We'll see women's round 4 again tomorrow, Sunday, live on Red Bull TV. And there is your leader after round 3, the 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champ from Australia, Rhiannon Ifland.
Should be pretty happy with her diving though. That's 3 solid dives, one after another.
So Davide Baraldi from Italy is a scratch from an injury early on. That means Carlos Emino will kick things off. He is the lowest score after the 2nd round for the men. Miguel Garcia will dive number 6. So Popovich, last year's World Series champion, he's right there, usually in the top 3. So trying to make his way back from injury after suffering a pretty heavy fall in Boston. Heslop, number 7. Helen, he runs number 7. And then we'll get back down. The top guy, though,
I think
Barnaba. Okay, we have 4 arm stand dives on the men's in the men's 3rd round.
in particular.
I love to watch.
Yeah, Nikita will be doing the hardest degree of difficulty dive in this round, 6.0. This is no slouch of a dive. 5.4, back arm stand, 4.5 somersaults. This will make you dizzy, and that's a dizzy height, 27.6 meters. And when you're standing on the platform, man, it is just a different feeling, different perspective. If you ever get that chance to walk on the platform, look down, you will have the utmost respect for all of these athletes and what they're doing. But I think that shot kind of spells it all.
Yeah, exactly. Splashing going on by the safety divers, and here we go.
Steady handstand, keep it cool.
All right, Carlos Amendo.
Looking good. Looking
like
good.
I said, he went from 2nd to 10th, but again, things change quickly in this sport with 4 rounds of diving. We'll see if that'll pull him back up into the rankings, leading into the men's round number 4.
And speaking of quickly, that's a quick rotation. To push with the arms to generate that rotation. 4.5 somersaults in total. Spotting the water as he goes by, trying to orientate himself. The one constant factor that will always be there when you're diving is the water. That's pretty crazy when you're actually diving. Sometimes you see some pretty strange things, and occasionally you'll do dives like these. You might sort of, all of a sudden you'll see the water and a little flash underneath the platform, a little flash to the balcony. But that last section of the dive, the last 2 meters, particularly when you dive from 27 meters, is very challenging to adjust. The water comes up a lot quicker than you realize.
Amendo with a 126.90 on that dive. That's what the yellow is. Adding together with the round 1 and 2, y'all have a 263 as the score. So Carlos Amendo will watch the rest of the men and see where he places going into the 4th round. There's young Jolito Martinez of Mexico making his 2nd appearance of his life on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Warming up, we'll see him shortly, but first we'll see Alexei Prigorov, the only Olympic medalist diver to compete on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Was that 3-meter springboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back at the 2008 games.
Yep, 2008 in Beijing. So forward 4 somersaults, 2.5 twists. Epic running takeoff.
A lot going on there with Prigorov. But putting it down, not a bad entry. But, you know, let's talk about G-forces, Joey, because when you see those legs and feet being pulled apart, you've been in that position before. I'd love to hear your stories about it. But you're just twisting and spinning so fast, dropping literally, you know, from 91 feet, 27.6 meters above the water. With all that going on, I mean.
Yeah, this is a busy dive.
It's like, whew.
And look,
Like somebody's trying to peel your feet apart.
Yeah, exactly. And it looked like there was like a little bit maybe of a mini sort of self-doubt check in the middle of the dive, like a little bit of the bent legs in the middle. I'm not quite sure. That's what I saw in my initial response when I first saw it. But it's a busy dive because you got to do the pike, then you got to do double twist in that 2nd part of the dive. Yeah, you can see the legs really pulling apart, a bit of a knee bend there as well. So when you're rotating, right, and you're rotating really quickly, and then you add the twist, what wants to happen is the legs just want to pull themselves apart.
Yeah.
A little trick to combat that is to try and overlap your feet to try to stop the legs pulling apart. But it still happens. There's a lot going on with that particular dive for Alexei Prigorov.
I mean, one way to combat it is just to not do this at all.
Yeah. Just to,
Just to
like,
not,
lay out banana
just to
dive.
not throw yourself off a
Just play safe.
91-foot platform.
Just play ping pong or paddle. Although paddle's becoming a
that's
little
the way
bit
to
more
curb
dangerous
it.
these days.
That's the way to avoid it. Just don't do it.
No, then we got nothing good to watch. You know, do it. I say.
Jonathan Martinez. He's an 8.2 pulling at the top spot. Youngster's done a great job coming onto the scene, handling the pressure, diving with all of his idols. He said his biggest goal of this season was to be invited back for another stop of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Well, that goal has already been achieved by just making it here to Polignano Mare after doing well in Boston, got the invite to here in Italy. So
Another arm stand dive. The only diver doing this particular dive. These are hard, the front arm stand dives. Man, they're tricky to get right. Oh, I don't know. We didn't see from the outside.
I didn't hear anything, though.
He was hurtling through the water. You could see how fast he was moving.
I didn't
Like
hear
a
anything.
split second, right? You're going from 85 kilometers per hour, 55 miles per hour, and then you're just stopping it, basically, in a mere split second. Probably went down around 4 meters, 12 feet, 13 feet, but very difficult dive. Arm stand forward, 3.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. That's an impressive dive for the youngster in his first time in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. I'm impressed.
Couple things to answer on our YouTube
Yeah.
chat room. What's
going on?
If you don't mind me. 8 stops this season. So our next stop is in Northern Ireland and the Causeway Coast. The people are asking Joey, are the judges former divers? Are they professionals? Well, we have Anke Piper of Germany. Very solid judge who's had experience at the Olympics. Sam Dorman is one of the judges, Olympic silver medalist in diving from the United States. Simone Latimer, you know him, 3-time Olympic diving judge.
Yep.
Agil Ormason, what do you know about him?
He's my old buddy. We dove, we dove together in King Kaiakili's Leap.
Oh, did you?
In Hawaii in 2002 together.
That's the panel right there. Julian Linus, 3-time Olympic judge. So our panel, folks, to answer your question, very solid. Zoltano Martinez, 21-year-old, 112 on that particular dive in the yellow. Add that together with the first 2 rounds, 254.10. So the youngster, Martinez, in his second Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, sitting in second. So the other Mexican diver, Sergio Guzman, strutting his way through, always smiling, coming through the plaza.
I'm digging the bathers, digging the red Crocs, you know, keeping it colorful, keeping it real. Know what I'm saying?
This isn't like, but this isn't a setup shot. That's the exact spot that they walk through to get to this platform from the town beach. You see the town beach?
Catwalk.
Walking all the way around through the village.
Yeah, it's actually a bit of a trek.
Into the terrace
You don't
here.
want to get caught talking down the bottom and like, oh, got to do my dive.
Everybody's like, is that a restaurant? No, it's a private family residence right here. The Labate family.
Make some good coffee there too, don't they?
No, he just kicks back, yeah.
man.
He's walking through there.
Well, for the Romanians, you're asking, are we going to see a Romanian diver? Here we go.
Best of them, too.
Yep.
Konstantin Popovic, Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion, 2023. Injured in Boston.
I'm no coach there as well.
Okay. And I'm no physical therapist, but I'm guessing it's his left knee.
Trace. Sherlock Holmes.
I am
on fire.
I am just throwing it out there.
The powers of deduction.
Throwing it out there. Here we go.
You might have another career waiting for you.
I am trying to figure it out.
Look at that. 27.6 meters, 90 feet up. 9th story of a high rise. Facing your fears.
Popovic looking solid there. His coach likes it. Popovic in the middle of this men's field in round number 3, putting one down. So another thing in the comment room, Joey, where are we at with things? The women have completed 3 rounds of diving. We just watched them live. We're on to the men. This is the final round that we will see live today. Men's round number 3. Then we will move into both the women and men's round number 4 tomorrow.
75 seconds on the platform, but well worth the wait. Excellent execution. He hasn't done this dive in a while. He's chosen to lower the degree of difficulty. My suspicion is that he would, normally he would be doing a back arm stand. An incredibly difficult dive, but I think when he's bending his legs in the arm stand and kicking it to the straight position, he's probably a bit worried about that hyperextension, but he's made up for it with great execution with the dive. But the person who has the highest total degree of difficulty in the competition across the 2 optional dives will be Aiden, then Nikita, James Lichtenstein, and Costa's back a little bit. That's what he needed to do. He needed great execution. All he can do now is sit back and wait and see how the other divers perform.
People are asking about the broadcast, all right? We were live on TikTok yesterday for round number 1, round 2 and 3. We haven't done this in any year.
Yep.
Live here on YouTube. Now, people are talking about the broadcast being on June 30th. Yes, the main broadcast, round number 4, crowning a champion, will go down tomorrow on Red Bull Cliff Diving's, or excuse me, Red Bull TV at 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST. As Popovich moves into the lead with 267.60. So that'll bode well for the reigning World Series champion of 2023. As we now move midway through the men's 3rd round. Loving the fact that we can air all 4 rounds live somewhere on some platform, Joey. Pretty sweet. YouTube live now. Gail Garcia. Need some heavy scores to get into that top 5 leading into the 4th round. Nailing it down here is Miguel Garcia, the 33-year-old Colombian. Pretty stoked about that. Or disappointed, not sure what. You never know when they slap the water, Joey.
No, I mean, it was.
Did you ever slap when you were stoked? When you were ticked off? Did you slap the water? Like,
I remember I almost hit the scuba dive once. I mean, I was so happy after my dive. I was like, massive, like swinging fist pump. Nearly collected the safety diver. Love the takeoff here by Miguel. Good twist. And then, underdoing it and just staying hunched on the water, so not finding that vertical line, not elongating the body into the straight position. Arms nice and tall, stomps in the platform. Good distance, maybe a little early into the twist. It's very important not to get into the twisting action too early. You can get a little bit off axis or start twisting or moving off to the side of the platform. And you can look at the entry there, shorter vertical. And we call that the chin shot.
Chin shot.
You got a little bit of a tickle under the chin, and you always feel that brutal impact.
93 on that dive. Add that together with the 1st and 2nd rounds, sitting in 4th with 236.70. All 4 rounds count. Stop number 3 of the season. Fans packing into the Lama Manakile Beach. Tomorrow, thousands more will be on hand to watch the 4th and final round. Don't forget, excuse me. Follow us at Red Bull Cliff Diving, Instagram. Check out the Red Bull Diving Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Great photos, videos posted over the past several days.
I think someone needs to tell the drones
today. Drone flying around.
Just give me a little haircut. I don't want that when you're doing a dive like this. Look at this. Front 4 somersaults, 3.5 twists in the pike position, 5.9. Yes, Helen, we're aware of the drone. Don't worry. Massive dive here, though. 5.9, second highest degree of difficulty of the round. Putting everything on the line.
There you go, Heslop. Huge degree of difficulty. You have the camaraderie from the other divers. They always give the little clap. But even if he would have stuck that entry, you know, you would have seen Popovich even more excited. That's what's cool about these guys in this sport, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of like, you know, it's all right. It was all right. It was all right. I'm giving you a little clap, but I think, you know, he's seen him do so much better.
No, for sure. I mean, it's a bit like Rafael Nadal playing tennis. You know, when someone else has had a great shot, they're like, bravo, kudos to you. Again, to highlight the fact that when you're trying, or not even trying, when you are doing dives of this caliber and of this complexity and this degree of difficulty, there's not much time. Look at that triple twist. It's very difficult to get into that triple twist. You can see his legs starting to pull apart. When you're coming out of the twist and getting into that somersault position as well, you can get a little bit corkscrewy. It's almost like you're steering the bus a little and just missing the entry. But if you want to be in it, and if you want to be in the running to win it, you got to throw down those big dives. You don't have an option. That's the way it's going.
One of the most challenging parts of the day is just walking on that floating dock. 1:12.10. So 2:56.90 for Heslop, who was the winner of the last stop in Boston. Not super excited and happy about that. He knows when it comes to the points, Joey, that when you have Popovich with a 267 and you're sitting there with a 256, it's a lot of points to make up in the fourth round of diving. So we're winding things down. Heslop just dove, sitting in third. Popovich leads, followed by Jimeno, Heslop, and Martinez. Regardless, it's all about when we get into that fourth round to when that leaderboard will shift and the podium will be set. We now look at Sergio Guzman, who's not done a bad job as a wildcard diver coming into this stop, especially after the first 2 rounds, sitting in a good position. It'll be Guzman, James Lichtenstein, Fedotov, Paredes, and the Italian Barnaba.
Just had a bit
top seed.
Bit of a bathing suit switch out, you know. We got the rubber duckies
Couple
going.
Duckies going, yeah.
So let's get serious, folks. This is still a very difficult dive. Reverse 4 somersaults in the tuck position. Gainer, so some people like to say gainer. So gainer means reverse. Facing forwards, he'll move forwards, but rotate back towards the platform.
Go, Sergio Guzman having a fantastic competition here in Polignano Mare.
I mean, right off the bat, when I saw him do the takeoff, I was like, that's a good jump, good distance. He tends to have this tendency to actually move too far away from the platform. On this occasion, he really managed to get it up nice and steep and put himself in a great position to get a good entry. You can hear the reaction. He's all pumped up. That's the reverse. Bending deep, nice and high, good elevation. In the past, he would move further away from the platform, which would mean that he would slow down the rotation. He gave himself a good fighting chance to get a good entry. Very experienced athlete now, Sergio Guzman. Won a Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series stop in Japan 2016. That was a historic win for him. And the Mexicans, great diving and high diving and cliff diving pedigree.
The big question is, when he woke up this morning and he chose the rubber ducky design on the Speedos.
Yeah. What's your point? Where are you getting at?
Where was that like maybe a good luck thing, like a superstitious thing? Anyway, it's working for Guzman.
Some people like ducks tracks. You have to understand that.
He clearly likes the ducks.
You know what I'm saying?
I like them. I like it. It's a cool suit. People do ask.
No, the people do.
People do ask why the Speedos. I know superstition, but people ask why the Speedo. That's a question that we get all the time.
Because you need to be slippery.
Why the Speedos?
You need to slip.
Why don't you wear board shorts?
Because there's too much drag and too much surface area.
Thank you for answering
that
question.
You might get a little bit of board short splash.
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to actually put that in the chat room right now.
Yeah.
All right, here's James.
Also, you need to see the leg line. That's another important thing for the judges as well. So they need to see the leg line from the hips through the knees. They need to see how much knee bend there is. If there's knee bend when your legs are supposed to be straight, they can deduct for that easier when you're wearing the bathers as well. So James Lichtenstein taking a big deep breath. 5.4 DDD. Back arm stand, 4.5 somersaults tuck. Same as we saw with Carlos Jimeno.
Not much of a design on the Speedos for James. Straight up kind of maroon action.
Well, maybe we can have a conversation with him and, you know, we can, I don't know, American flag, something like that, something subtle. Yeah?
We're going to have to stop. Well, we'll talk with him.
Yeah.
James Lichtenstein, World Series leader after 2 stops.
Right? I mean, diving so well. This final moment before the dive, getting yourself mentally set. Important that you find your routines, your rhythms, and find things that work for you. Steady. A bit steady. Oof.
James doing another great job. Lichtenstein showing you. These guys are like, he is so consistent right now.
The flip stuff, huh?
That's what it takes. I mean, you know, Joe, you and I have been talking about this without being on air. It's like, why is James doing so well? Like a lot of people, the risk versus reward stuff you've been talking about really makes a lot of sense. He's just been staying really clean, consistent, putting down the dives, giving the judges what they like, not risking injury.
Yeah. I think he's now he's been doing these dives for long enough. He's got it dialed in. He's getting more comfortable with it. He knows how to take off, how fast to do the takeoff, how much power, where to kick out. And once you've got enough repetitions under your belt, you start to develop some consistency. Some of the other divers are throwing massive dives. Yes, they've been doing them for a while, but sometimes they're just really hard to hit, some of those dives. And I think he's doing the simple things right. It looks like he gets into a good routine before he gets on the platform. I mean, in the past, when he was learning to high dive in Utah, it took him a long time to get off the platform. He had to overcome some hurdles, but he's done a great job. He's been methodical about his approach, and it's paying dividends. Winning or leading the World Series right now, as you said, Trace. That's amazing. And leading right now.
Leading again, 285.80. You can watch this tomorrow on Red Bull TV, 4th round live. Women's 3 rounds have already been completed. We are winding down the men's 3rd round here live on YouTube. Now tomorrow, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST on Red Bull TV. That's our world feed. In the States, you can check it out live on ESPN+. If you have any questions on time, where, and when to watch, what platform, go on to redbullcliffdiving.com. That'll give you the goods.
Okay, folks, look at the tariff. Look at the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen. 6.0, Nikita Fedotov blocking through the motions, doing his visualizations of the dive before he does it. Just trying to picture the dive perfectly in the mind, as well as doing that physical block through. Relatively new dive for him. Highest degree of difficulty of this round. 6.0. Back arm stand. 4.5 somersaults. But in the pike position. So the exact same dive as what we just saw with James. But the big difference is that you'll see Nikita will have his legs straight, which denotes the pike position. And when you're in the pike position, the body's longer. It makes it harder to generate the rotation. So he gets more degree of difficulty. That went up from 5.4 to 6.0 just by changing from the tuck position to the pike position. Now the training dive didn't quite go to plan, so let's see if he can make the adjustments from training to the competition. Nerve-wracking dive. Oof.
Go.
Oof.
What's the oof for?
Yeah, pretty short, and you can hear a little bit of a whistle
Yeah.
from the safety team. He has taken a hard hit. And this particular dive is where Kathleen Preder also got injured on. And look, this happens from time to time in sport. You know, you do take some hard landings. So as a safety precaution, they will put them on the spinal board, put them onto the rescue boat. But like in all sports, cycling, rugby, soccer, football, there are injuries from time to time. But we do have an expert team of medical staff and safety divers who are always training for the sport of cliff diving.
James Lichtenstein, the leader. Safety divers, as you mentioned, Joey, doing their job, but the place got pretty quiet.
Yeah, it did. And there's always a lot of respect from the other divers. They care a lot about each other.
Oh, yeah.
But again, this highlights the fact that this sport does come with some risk. You know, these are really big dives that they're performing now, from 27 meters, 90 feet high.
Certainly answers a lot of questions to people in the chat room. Is this a dangerous sport? Do they crash a lot? Do they land on their stomach, back, whatever the case may be? And I always ask you, Joey, and you say, oh yeah, you bet, you bet.
And it doesn't take much, and that's the point. Like, you can be just ever so slightly slow, but when you're performing these option dive rounds, this back arm set 4.5 somersaults, when you come out of the dive, there's very little time to react. So the more somersaults and twists that you do, the less time that you have at the end of the dive to adjust, right? And as you're going towards the water, the speed is picking up. It's an exponential curve of acceleration with the velocity. So the less time you have, you've got less time, also the speed's picking up. And that makes it very difficult with these particular dives. So James, on the other hand, doing it in the tuck position, would have had more time because he would have been spinning a little quicker.
So as we look a shot at Polignano, Mare, Italy, just joined us, looking at Nikita Fedotov, pretty heavy landing there, and getting attention by our wonderful safety diver and medical crew.
And they do a great job, and they're always rehearsing. They have their set procedures. They know exactly what to do and how to deal with these kind of situations. But look, I'm sure Nikita Fedotov will be fine. We'll come back to everyone with an update later.
Look at this. We're going to come back to you with hopefully an update on Nikita Fedotov as we move on. And Joey, I mean, this is an interesting situation here. You have Jonathan Paredes, who's already the one person in the past several years, in particular the last stop, having some issues just mentally with his dives, and you know, he's getting a little nervous, scared at some point. He's being very transparent about it, which I love right now. Now you just see Nikita Fedotov, after all of what's happened to Johnny, right? Without Fedotov, he's still in these nervous situations, I'm sure. Now you throw that in the mix,
and you're reminded of the reality.
Yeah.
And actually, but this is a really important thing for sports psychologists. We talk a lot about this, and it's like, okay, so you try to picture the dive and picture the situation of everything going smoothly and perfectly. But now a lot of psychologists and sports psychologists are putting the athletes through the paces, and they're like, what are you going to do if there's a delay? What are you going to do if if there's an incident beforehand? So if you are a well-prepared athlete, mentally, you'll have this in your repertoire of repertoire to actually help you deal with these situations. So and that's a really important point. Sometimes you'll have delays. We've been talking about it with the Australian diving team, athletes getting prepared for the Olympics. Sometimes they have delays in the Olympics. There's technical problems. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So run yourself through the scenarios mentally, and then you get into these moments, and then you should be able to handle it better. But it's never easy, particularly when you've seen, you know, your fellow divers, you know, taking a hard landing. That's not what you want to see.
A lot of people just asking what happened to Nikita.
Yeah.
Not that far off of how other people have landed before, right? I mean, just a little bit coming in, and
pretty short of it.
It just depends where it hits you, right? I mean, it's again, you mentioned it before, like a boxing match, a little bit of an uppercut, right? Sometimes it can, you know, hit you in the wrong spot.
Yeah, a little concussion.
Maybe
yeah.
knock you down on the ground, and maybe not at all, right? So.
Well, sometimes you land like that, and you find like you can get winded quite often. I mean, he would have probably been winded, so you know we've all taken a bit of a hit to the stomach at one point, and you can't breathe. That's what happens when you land short or vertical from these heights. It's tough.
Good. I mean, Johnny. He's looking down, you know, that peer group and that support group, which is pretty much the entire group of athletes that are here, the 12 men, 12 women. And Johnny's just looking down there at that little platform, looking at all of his buddies, just kind of smiling and trying to, you know, they're all looking up at him, trying to keep his mind off of this dive.
Yeah, it's like, you'll be good. You're all good, mate. They're all supporting him. They're all rooting for him.
But the one person probably in this field that didn't need to dive after that incident with Nikita Fedotov is Jonathan Paredes after what he's gone through. Let's see if he handles it. This will be really good for him and his confidence, Joey, after this dive. He does well.
I mean, despite what happened, you do need to actually get to a degree a little bit selfish. You've really got to go, okay, well, that happened to Nikita, and I'm sure he feels bad for him, but you've got to focus on what you need to do in your own safety.
Okay, judge is ready. The bell has rung. That means all areas are ready. Judges, TV. Time to roll. Jonathan Paredes. Focused.
Back triple. Yeah, back 3 somersaults, 3 twists.
Great job by Jonathan Paredes. Several minute wait after seeing his friend Nikita Fedotov injured.
I'd say a lot more than that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was almost more like a over 5 minute wait there for him. And that's hard, especially when you're on the platform and you're you're set mentally, right, I'm ready to go, and then all of a sudden you have that delay. And as we talked about that before, you have to have those scenarios rehearsed in your mind before you do that. But he handled that really well. Good takeoff, good clean twist, slightly hunched on entry.
Could be a silver lining here for Johnny Paredes, right?
Yeah.
Being able to handle that mentally over the past like 5-6 minutes, like you said, Joey. Come out here and throw that dive down, that's going to help him.
Well, yeah, and he's just proven to himself, yeah, I can handle this, I can do this. But not only that, a very stylish dive, clean twist, comes out of the twist, into the pike, beautiful pointed toes, ever so slightly short on entry, but not too bad at all. And folks,
John,
we've only got one more diver to go now, huh?
Well, he said, yeah, one more diver to go. Baranaba of Italy, who's only been in several events and is leading the charge coming into the 3rd round. But Jonathan Paredes, 98. They got him on that landing a little bit, meaning the judges got him on that. 263.30. So put him in the 4th, but that is a solid position, folks, coming in to the 4th round, which will happen tomorrow. Both the women and the men tomorrow, 4th and final round live on Red Bull TV and in the States, ESPN+. James Lichtenstein leading right now. Not only leading the World Series after 2 stops, but leading at the moment with 1 diver remaining. And I always have to chuckle when you see the youngsters come out, the new guard, Joey, putting the pressure on the biggest names in the sport. This, Andrea Baranaba, 20 years old, from Italy, from Trieste, just north of here, near the Slovenian border, junior world champion, loves to play video games. Now he's got a target on his back. top seed.
So relatively low degree of difficulty, 4.2 degree of difficulty. We know he's got the potential for great things in the future to increase the degree of difficulty. Scored a 10 in the previous round.
Barnaba gets busy and right there. That is a wonderful dive. Great entry, Joey. And the youngster will most likely stay in the top 3 after that. Coming into the 4th round, what do you think?
What I think
Yeah.
he's all style. And that's the thing that I really like about him. Okay, in the future, we talked about it. He will increase the degree of difficulty. But what this kid has got is technique. He is stylish like the Italians are,
Yeah.
as always. But a great technician, excellent mechanics in the dive. Deep press, good reach up, very clean twist, nothing. What I really like there is when he comes out of the twist, he comes into the pike, there's no kink, there's no wobble. Everything is straight, it's neat, it's tidy, it's symmetrical. This kid is just so precise. When I say kid, yeah, he's 20 years of
he
age.
is, yeah, he's 20. All right, so mediocre scores right there for Barnaba.
No, but consistent across all those 3 dives. Doing really well.
Totally, yeah.
Really
no.
well.
Yeah, not downplaying at all, but it's not going to put him in that top spot, which is probably good for him. I don't think he needs the pressure in that 4th round, but nevertheless, Barnaba in 3rd place, the top 3. That is huge for the youngster going into the 4th
And I
round.
dare say he's actually got the lowest degree of difficulty across all 4, well, across his 2 optional dives at all the athletes. And after 3 rounds of diving, and to be sitting in 3rd position right now, that shows you how well he's executed his dives.
What about his 4th round dive? Does he have some juice on that one, you think?
Not a lot, no. He's got front quad half, so it's not particularly a big degree of difficulty. But at the moment, I'm just looking at how he's handling himself, how he's executing the dive, and that's the way to do it. You know, get yourself into the competition, get yourself into the series, get comfortable, learn how to get the entries good first. A lot of the divers tend to actually rush, do 2 difficult dives too early. He's doing it the right way, in my
Here
opinion.
we go, James again, leading the way. Popovich, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
here he goes again.
He's back.
He's back. And Barnaba from Italy. The crowd will be going absolutely berserk over him tomorrow, coached by Alessandro De Rose. And check out some little highlights of De Rose tomorrow in our show. That'll be fun to watch. His 2017 victory. I'll tell you what a beautiful day in Polignano Mare, Italy. And the 3rd round completed for both the women and the men. And Joey, your thoughts so far coming into the 4th round? It's gonna be wonderful. If the weather stays like this, we're gonna see some great action tomorrow live on Red Bull TV. James Lichtenstein from the United States leading the charge. He's leading the World Series, and he's hanging out with Frosty. What's going on, guys?
That was an incredible dive to round out round 3. How did you get yourself in the mental space for such a difficult dive?
I've just been doing so many reps back home in Rotterdam, low and high as well. Just the amount of reps, like my body feels that dive now, and now I can give myself 1 or 2 small cues and know that as soon as I'm in the air, my body's going to take over.
You're one of the calmest, coolest cucumbers out there before the competition, but it was amazing to see you just slam that disc right afterwards. How does it feel to get that dive on?
Yeah, I mean, every dive deserves to be celebrated. We're jumping off a building here, 9-story building, but yeah, definitely. I mean, on the outside, I might be chill, but on the inside, I'm pretty nervous. I mean, you can see my heart rate. I don't know what it was this time, but it was 160. But as soon as the dive's done, I'm so excited.
Whatever you're doing is definitely working. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. All you guys tomorrow.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Great to hear from James. Thank you, Frosty. And James, always pretty chill, the mathematician. coming in. He's led into the 4th round before. So James Lichtenstein leading on the men's side, going into the 4th and final round. For the women, it is Rhiannon Iflin leading the charge there. But you can watch it all tomorrow, you guys, on Red Bull TV, 17:30, 5:30 p.m. CEST, and in the States on ESPN+. So for Joey Zuber, Frosty on the ground, I'm Trace Worthington. Thanks for watching the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. We will see you tomorrow on Red Bull TV for the 4th and final round.